Are you ready?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Steve Malzberg Show, where we talk about everything and anything for the most part, and that's going to be proven true once again today. A little bit later on in the show, we're going to be speaking to Diamond Dallas Page. And if you don't know who he is, you'll find out. If you know who he is, I don't have to tell you. That'll be later on. We're also going to take a look at the Fort Hood trial because the judge won't let the prosecution present evidence as to why the jihadist on trial committed jihad, which is always a good thing. I think we should keep the motive as secret as possible wherever we can. We're also going to talk about the fact that there's a report supposedly from a Democratic senator to a newspaper that President Obama has already started cutting aid off to Egypt or the Egyptian military. The administration says that's not true, but yet we now have reports from AP and Reuters and others that there will be a cabinet meeting tomorrow where the future of aid to Egypt will be discussed. So all that, we'll cover it. We got you covered, no problem. And how about moms smoking pot to be better moms? Oh, yeah. We got the Martha Stewart, self-proclaimed, I can't make this up, the self-proclaimed Martha Stewart of, I think she calls it cannabis. You see, if you don't call it marijuana or pot, then it's like 50% of people would already say, what the heck's cannabis? So it's safer that way. So she uses cannabis, and we'll talk to her. That should be a lively conversation. But let me tell you about a situation out of Silver Spring, Maryland, which really shows how far we've come as a nation, I guess. You tell me if you think it's good or you think it's bad. And by the way, you're free to weigh in, 855-777-9660, 855-777-9660. Here's the deal. A Maryland woman says she felt racially profiled after she went to see I think the first showing of Lee Daniels, The Butler, at a downtown Silver Spring movie theater. I want you to listen to the NBC News 4 affiliate there in Silver Spring, Maryland. This will be cut number 24.
Now, the controversy deals with a woman who came here to the Regal Majestic Theater right behind me here in downtown Silver Spring last night. She says basically because there was a larger police presence that she felt like the audience was being racially profiled. It was a predominantly African-American audience, and she said she encountered a number of police officers inside the theater, something that she'd never seen happen before.
Okay, so she goes to the theater, and she sees security, and she sees a police officer or someone she thinks is a police officer or a security officer, and she sees another and another. And she says, wow. Well, she says nothing for that night, at least not to anybody official, and goes home, goes to sleep. Next day, she has a problem. Let's go to cut number 25.
She says that there were 3 police officers in the cinema. They were verifying tickets, and there was an officer actually inside the theater itself where people were watching The Butler here last night. And again, she says that's never happened when she's gone to see a movie. She did not complain immediately here at the theater, but today she did file a complaint, and she's trying to get answers to see why there needed to be so many officers here in dealing with the crowd and people here to see that particular movie.
Okay, so there you go. And it gets better. Here's cut 26.
What do you think about the attention this is getting?
I think it's great. I think that Regal should be on high alert because it's really about how this makes them look and how they're being portrayed in the community. And a lot of people feel like an overwhelmingly African-American audience gets 3 police officers, to guard and manage our entrance and exit from the theater is very, very suspicious. So I'm hoping that they come up with an answer that we can all deal with, because as I've been told, I've never seen anything like it before.
Never seen security guards at a movie theater, huh? Boy, that this is really bad for them. They better come up with an answer. Or I'm going to go to Al Sharpton and I'm going to say racial profiling. I'm going to go, hey, excuse me, Eric Holder. I was at the movies the other night, and it was a mostly black audience, and I'm black, and they had 3 security guards. I think that's racial profiling. Get this young lady's name, get her address. I think we have a case. Get the Civil Rights Division in here. Are you kidding me? What country are we living in? Don't you want police? And don't you want security at the movies or anywhere else? No, racial profiling. Now imagine if there were no cops there, no security guards there, and an overflow crowd or a sellout crowd, which this was apparently, and God forbid there was trouble. One lone nut caused trouble. 2 nuts caused trouble. Or right outside the theater, 2 people or 3 people who couldn't get in caused trouble. Black, white, yellow, I don't care. You think the same person would be out there saying, where was the security? I don't know if she would or not, but this is insane. So you want the response of the theater? You want the response of Regal Cinemas? Here's their response, cut 27.
Regal Entertainment Group routinely employs security personnel to ensure the safety of all our guests and staff. When a theater experiences sold-out showings of any feature, security will assist with crowd control and guest assistance throughout the facility, including in the auditoriums. At no time did local management receive any guest complaints or concerns about our security or staff, who work diligently to meet all of our guests' needs.
Perfectly legitimate response, in my opinion. Now, this girl, this woman, whatever, I don't know how old she is, Tiffany Flowers, tweeted out a series of tweets, according to the Guardian online, or the Daily Mail, I should say. Tiffany, I'd like to take this time to express my utter disgust with at Regal Movie Cinema in Silver Spring, Maryland. You should all stay away from here. Next, the almost entirely black audience of The Butler was subjected to watching the film while armed guards, now they're armed guards, faced the audience. Why? Faced the audience, okay. Armed guards. Talking about Marines, talking about, what are we talking about here? Next one. Why the police presence? Is it a rowdy theater with a lot of unruly preteens and teenagers? No. She tweeted. Then, get this. This is the worst part, I'm sure. Then, as soon as we entered the theater, we are greeted by an actual police officer who herded traffic in one direction. He herded them. He herded them like cattle, like sheep, in one direction. How awful. Imagine a sellout crowd at a movie theater being directed to go to one direction. That's racial profiling. That's worse than racial profiling. Once we get around the corner and start looking for seats, we see yet another police officer inside the theater facing patrons. I don't know what that means. Facing? Should they be looking away? Should their eyes be closed? Would that make Miss Tiffany happy? I don't know. I don't know. I can't answer for her. But, folks, I'd love to hear from you on this, because maybe I'm out of my mind. Am I out of my mind? I don't know. But this is America now? And this has gotten worldwide attention. This woman is complaining. Now, I had the opportunity today to speak to a gentleman who called into a show, and I was filling in on WMAL radio, and he said that, and that's in the Maryland area, D.C., Virginia, Maryland. He claimed to be the owner of the company that provided the security guards. You know, how do you believe someone who called in? You could only take their word for it. We got his cell phone number. The producer checked it out, and we're 90% sure that this guy is who he said he was. He was written about in a newspaper article several years earlier. We checked his last name. He checked out as far as we know. And here's what he said on the air. He said, I supply security guards to theaters and other facilities. There are always 3 police officers or 3 security people at that theater on the weekends, on Friday and Saturday night. He said that they're ex-cops or not off-duty cops for the most part. And that's the story. End of story. But even working on the premise that this was unusual or this is not always the case, so what? So what? This is racial profiling? Is that what we've come to here? A movie theater hires security guards or off-duty cops to protect the theater, to protect the law-abiding citizens of all races who were at the theater. It wasn't an all-black audience. And this one person, and I never heard anything like this, accuses the theater, and they better step up. They better provide an explanation because you know how they're going to be viewed in the community. Really? The black community, the African-American community is going to frown upon them because they put security guards and off-duty cops at a crowded movie theater on a weekend for a first-run movie of a high-profile movie, which is a controversial movie, by the way. There's a lot of controversy in it. So I want to know from you folks, is this woman out of her mind, or is she right? Is this theater doing the right thing, or is this theater racist, baby? Because I can't even believe it's a story, but it's out there. Oh, it's out there like the pot-smoking moms and the aid to Egypt and our guest later on in the show, Diamond Dallas Page. Again, if you know who he is, I don't have to tell you. If you don't know, just got to stick around. Now I'm looking at the crawl on CNN. 2 daycare workers accused of being mean. Accused of being mean. All right. I mean, I don't know what mean means, but that's another story I'm not familiar with, but just the headline grabbed me. Don't be mean. And don't have security guards at a movie theater if there's a mostly black audience, because Eric Holder, did you send this to the Civil Rights Division yet? Get on it. All right, we're coming back. 855-777-9660 on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Do you owe the IRS? Do you have unfiled tax returns? Have you received a wage garnishment or bank levy? Maybe a lien has been filed against you. OMG Tax can help you with all your IRS tax problems. Don't wait another second. Take action now. Call my team at OMG Tax. Honest and professional, we don't make false promises. If you owe back taxes, or if the IRS is garnishing your paycheck, you need help now. OMG Tax can help you get your life back to normal. If you're serious about handling your tax matter, call OMG Tax now and get the peace of mind you deserve. Don't let the IRS take your next paycheck. Stop waiting and call our team at OMG Tax. OMG Tax has a straightforward, no-nonsense approach and has helped many Americans resolve their IRS nightmare. Call OMG Tax now.
Call 1-800-255-6485. That's 1-800-255-6485. 800-255-6485.
Obamacare. More than $1 trillion in new costs. Hidden taxes, fees, big Medicare cuts, doctor shortages. How can we survive?
To know Obamacare is to survive Obamacare. The Obamacare Survival Guide tells you everything you need to know to protect yourself, your family, your business. The Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere. Special internet-only offer right now at Obamacare911.com.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at AftershockVideo.com. AftershockVideo.com.
Judging from everything you hear, you think all cholesterol is bad, but that's not really true. You need a certain amount of cholesterol to maintain good health. The problem is that too much cholesterol in your blood contributes to a plaque, a fatty substance that narrows the coronary arteries that feed blood flow to your heart. Picture your coronary arteries as a 4-lane highway. If one lane becomes blocked, traffic still flows well. 2 lanes, no major problem. But if a third lane becomes blocked, that spells trouble. It's the same way with your coronary arteries. And when plaque slows their blood flow to your heart, this can even cause a heart attack. The good news is that when it comes to cholesterol, lifestyle changes can pay off big time. Even a small reduction in plaque can be like opening up another highway lane. Suddenly, blood flow that was stalled can go forward again. Changing your lifestyle does not have to be hard. And in fact, here are 3 ways to help you start lowering your cholesterol. Snack on nuts. Nuts are probably one of the easiest and tastiest ways to lower cholesterol. Walnuts and almonds are among the best. Bulk up your diet with fiber. Choose whole fruits instead of a fruit juice, brown rice instead of white, and if you're eating a baked potato, be sure to leave the skin on. Choose fish. Fish contains cholesterol-fighting omega-3 fatty acids. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thanks for watching this Heart Health Minute. Remember, it's never too late to prevent or reverse heart disease. Right now, I invite you to discover your own risk for heart disease or even a heart attack by taking my quick, free online quiz at www.simplehearttest.com.
Where can you find the Steve Malzberg Show? Everywhere. From your smartphone to satellite radio to Newsmax Live TV to Roku, we have you covered. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. 855-777-9660, 855-777-9660. Are we able to go to the call? Yes, no? Okay. So we'll be able to go to the call in just a second. Coming up at the bottom of this hour, as mentioned, Cheryl Schumann, president of the Beverly Hills Cannabis Club. Not cannibals. No, Chad thought it was a cat. Chad thought she was a cannibal. She's not a cannibal. Cannabis, which I've never smoked. I've never smoked anything. All right, let's get to the phones, and let's go to Nick in Brewster, New York. Hello, Nick. You're on the Steve Malzberg Show. Thanks for weighing in, sir.
Yes, how you doing? My name's Nick. I'm calling from Westchester, New York.
Yes, sir.
How you doing? I'd like to comment about that woman you were just talking about in Maryland.
Yeah.
That was, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I'm a white male in my early 30s. You know, I think it's horrible what happens sometimes to other races, yes. But, you know, I'll give you an instance. One time I was walking out of Best Buy. You know how they check the receipts? You know, it was 2 black security guards at Best Buy. I walked out, and they waved me on. They didn't even look at me. You know, it's more like they profile themselves, you know, and that's our problem. And you know, and that has to be our problem, you know. They blame everything on, we went through 200 years of this. Come on, get over it. You know, slavery was long gone.
Well, I don't. She didn't bring up slavery, but I just want. I would like to focus on the racial profiling part of it. I mean, I don't understand how having. And by the way, 2 of the cops were white, from what I understand from the gentleman who claimed to have employed these security guards and provided them to the theater. 2 were white and 1 was black. And so I just don't understand the concept of how we've come from what racial profiling. It was mistakenly called racial profiling by Al Sharpton, purposely, I believe, when a couple of bad seeds on the New Jersey State Troopers stopped blacks for the fun of it, quote unquote. They harassed blacks on New Jersey Turnpike, and that should have been called harassment, but they called it racial profiling. Profiling is what police do every day on every level, and now that's become a dirty term, and now it's being applied to something like this. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's more security. It was a security measure, and that's it.
I got you. All right, Nick. Thank you. How are you listening? You're watching on Newsmax, or you're listening on XM?
I got you on satellite.
Okay, cool. All right, Nick. Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks, buddy.
Take care. All right, Nick weighing in from Brewster, New York. Okay, we have this just in. The pitcher, Dempster, who threw yesterday at this time, or a little earlier at the beginning of the show yesterday, I was talking about the pitcher who threw at Alex Rodriguez and the reaction of the crowd, and I thought it was perverse, and the crowd cheering even up in Boston when Alex Rodriguez got hit in the back. He's now been suspended for 5 games and fined an undisclosed amount of money. And, the way I see it, this is something that absolutely had to happen. Absolutely had to happen. You can't allow players to act like that. You can't allow, anarchy anywhere. And especially in a sports league, on the baseball field, or any field of play where it pits one player against another with one wielding a dangerous weapon. Well, both are, but actually both are. I mean, A-Rod could have flung his bat at him. So you have to put a stop to that kind of thing and send a message that that's not going to happen anymore. And whether or not it happens anymore, we'll see. But at least now the precedent has been set. It's a 5-game suspension. And I will say this. That probably means for a pitcher, he misses one turn. And I don't know if he's appealing it or if he's accepting it. Here we go again, like A-Rod. But it probably means as a pitcher who usually pitches every 5th day, he'll miss a turn, which is one game for him, and then one start, and then, maybe get the second start moved up a little or some such thing. So it's not like, unless it is a 5-start, which I didn't hear that at all. So you assume it's 5 games, and that's what he'll miss. But these players, they make a lot of money per game. A-Rod, was making $150,000 per game, from what I understand. All right, folks. When we come back, we're going to be joined by the self-proclaimed Martha Stewart of the cannabis world, and she will join us, and she will tell us why it's a good thing for mothers of children, to be smoking pot, which I can't for the life of me figure out, but maybe she can educate me right here on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Are you at least 62 years old like me? Could you use an extra $50,000, $100,000 or more to live a better life? Then please consider the benefits a reverse mortgage can provide to you. With a reverse mortgage, you can have your mortgage payments stopped altogether and get equity out of your home to live on. And you can use the money to help you live a better life. How nice would that be, not to have a mortgage payment? Qualifying for a reverse mortgage is simple, since there are no income, asset, employment, or credit requirements. However, you must be 62 years or older, own your home outright, or have a very low balance on the mortgage, and be prepared to live in it throughout the rest of the loan. Call now for more information.
800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. That's 800-831-1560. Here's today's silver shortage update from Lear Capital.
Reports keep coming. The shortage is growing. Twice already this year, the U.S. Mint has run out. Last time this happened, the silver price jumped 40%. It's time to take advantage with this special offer from Lear Capital.
For a limited time, buy 20 new silver polar bear coins and get one free. The only 1.5 ounce coin on the market. It's minted with the finest silver, carries a government guarantee, and is eligible for IRAs. The silver polar bear is available exclusively from Lear Capital. But don't wait. Silver supplies are shrinking and availability is not guaranteed. This offer is limited to a minimum purchase of $5,000. Call right now. 800-634-0482. 800-634-0482. Call Lear Capital now. 800-634-0482.
I love you, son. So it hurts when you say I hate you. I'm your mother. I'm tired of you disrespecting me when you don't get your way. I work hard to make sure you have everything you need. I should be able to ask you to get out of bed in the morning without a fight. So from now on, things are going to be different. I ordered the Total Transformation Program. We're not going to scream and fight anymore. I'm going to tell you what to do in a different way, and you're going to do it. You're not going to call me ugly names anymore, and if you do, you're going to get consequences that'll keep you from calling me ugly names. We're not going to do things your way anymore, son. We're going to do things the Total Transformation way.
Get the Total Transformation free. Just order the program, tell us how it works for you, and you can keep it for free. Call 1-888-577-9520. 1-888-577-9520. Call now. Call 1-888-577-9520. 1-888-577-9520.
3 a.m. and you're up again for the third time. It's not just affecting your sleep, it's interrupting your daily life. Frequent trips to the bathroom due to an aging prostate is a common concern, but you can now do something about it with Prostate Revive. Doctor-formulated Prostate Revive is an all-natural dietary supplement packed with 15 powerful ingredients, focused on improving prostate health by targeting the two main sources of prostate concerns, rogue testosterone and inflammation. And now, in this limited time radio offer, you can try Prostate Revive absolutely free. That's a free bottle, a 30-day supply of Prostate Revive, risk-free. Plus, if you call right now, you'll also receive our free report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Prostate. Call now for details on getting your free bottle, plus our doctor's report. Call 1-800-659-REVIVE. That's 1-800-659-REVIVE. Don't be a victim of an aging prostate. Start getting the sleep you need and get your life back with Prostate Revive. Claim your risk-free bottle now at 1-800-659-REVIVE.
This is not your typical Screamfest talk show.
No.
This is the next generation of talk radio. Here is Steve Malzberg.
On a recent evening at a home in Beverly Hills, a few moms gathered to enjoy food, friendship, and a few laughs.
I do garnish incredibly well. Yes.
But this was no ordinary potluck party.
Vaporizer time.
Welcome to the Beverly Hills Cannabis Club, a place where marijuana moms congregate to take a break from the stress of family life.
So this is strawberry pop.
Your hostess, the self-proclaimed Martha Stewart of Marijuana, Cheryl Schumann.
Cannabis not only made me a better mom, cannabis made me a better human being.
Cannabis made you a better mom?
Absolutely.
All right, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Your guide to becoming a better human being. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. And joining us right now is the self-proclaimed Martha Stewart of cannabis, Cheryl Schulman. Hello, Cheryl. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Well, it's my pleasure. All right, tell everybody your story. I mean, what led you to go to marijuana?
Well, I was a skeptic like a lot of people, and in fact, one of those goody two-shoes girls. It was 1996, and I was 36 years old before I tried cannabis. And I was going through a really bad depression at the time, a horrific divorce, and had an anxiety disorder, as well as chronic pain issues and neuropathic pain from 2 car accidents. I was having seizures. So at that time, my doctors, including my MD as well as my therapist, had me on a number of pills, antidepressants, anti-anxiety, pain pills, Neurontin, Gabentin for the neurological pain, as well as albuterol for my asthma, and then another medication for my acute pulmonary histoplasmosis, which is a breathing disorder. So I was in my therapist's office one day, and I told him basically I'd lost the quality of life with my children. I went from being a coach for my children's soccer team and softball teams and an active member of the PTA to not being able to get out of bed. So my doctor in 1996 looked at me and said, you should be aware that medical marijuana has just passed and it's legal now in the state of California. And he said, I personally, speaking for himself, he said that he used cannabis and found it as a superior mood stabilizer for himself. And he also educated me about how it was really good for neuropathy pain as well as seizures. So he had his own garden and rolled a joint for me, which I've never smoked a cigarette. I didn't drink. I've never done illegal drugs of any kind. And it worked for me. So I used it for about 1.5 years. I found it to be a far better mood stabilizer and worked better for me than my albuterol or other medications for my lung disorder. And it worked really well for chronic pain instead of the opiates that physicians had me on. Then fast forward to 2006, I was diagnosed with cancer. and was told that I would not live past my birthday the following year. So I gathered my children together and organized a living trust. And then I found out about cannabis as a last resort. The doctors had exhausted pretty much everything that they could for me. And at the time I was on 27 pharmaceuticals, bedridden, on an intravenous morphine pump, and was unable to shower or have any quality of life. I had a catheter, couldn't go to the bathroom by myself. It was really a miserable existence. And then I reunited with a friend of mine whose family member had grown a specific strain for seizures and then another strain for anti-tumor growth. And then I heard about a man in Nova Scotia by the name of Rick Simpson who had cured his own cancer by an extraction process that was branded as Rick Simpson oil. And people from all across the world were rushing to meet this man in Nova Scotia. So at first I thought it might be an urban legend of some kind, but I did connect with Rick Simpson as well as a number of doctors and endocannabinoid scientists that specialize in endocannabinoid medicines and research. And cannabis, at the end of the day, saved my life. It gave me a superior quality of life, and I went from being bedridden and on 27 pharmaceuticals to within 90 days being able to go back to work full-time.
All right, that's a wonderful story, and certainly if you're in the position you were in, especially with the cancer, I would try anything as well. What my problem is that watching that report and hearing, one of the mothers say that, she was on this drug, she would take one drug to be not depressed, and then she'd have to come down with Prozac to pick her up, and then Xanax to take her down. I don't know too many people who use an antidepressant and then have to come down from it with Xanax, but nonetheless, and that her 10-year-old, and maybe it's not the same person, but her 10-year-old would say, "Mom, it's time," and that means it's time to do the cannabis. And if my 10-year-old says it's okay, then why don't adults just accept that? The logic here, using marijuana for anxiety, I just don't believe in that. I just think this is very dangerous. When you're in charge of a child, I wouldn't want someone on alcohol. And whether or not people give you approval, I doubt there's many people in our audience that would say, "Oh, you do pot? Sure, I'll leave my child with you." It just goes against every norm and every common sense fiber in my being that I could think of.
Well, as you describe it, I would have to agree with you. The sad thing about media is a lot of people don't understand what goes on the editing floor. The woman that you spoke of had a brain injury, and in fact, the cannabis that she used is a CBD cannabis strain, which is completely non-psychoactive. So in that particular case, and that's what's sad, is because in that particular piece, which is an ABC 2020 piece, they edited a lot out. Every single woman in that particular video either had multiple sclerosis or brain injuries or cancer or liver disease, and they left that out to be able to fit into that program. So, if that was all the information that I had to go on, I have to say I would agree. I certainly wouldn't want my children to be with anyone who is impaired. And we're not suggesting, and I certainly would never suggest, that anyone use cannabis and be impaired with their children or anyone. I don't think anyone should be driving a vehicle if they're impaired, whether it be on cannabis or alcohol or pharmaceuticals. But what a lot of people don't realize, Steve, is the fact that cannabis was actually legal on our pharmacy shelves until 1937 and was used as directed by a doctor for a number of illnesses. And I truly believe that if used properly under the supervision of a doctor as prescribed by that doctor, I believe that cannabis is a much safer alternative than pharmaceuticals, tobacco, or alcohol. In fact, in this country alone, someone dies of a prescription drug overdose every single 19 minutes. And in the entire 3,500 year of history, even Dr. Sanjay Gupta would tell you that there has never, ever been one recorded overdose of cannabis. And that really comes to...
Well, that's a little misleading, Cheryl, because cannabis isn't prescribed until most recently and in a few states. So to say that, the number of people who use prescription drugs or whatever, to say there's no in recorded history history, there's no example of anybody ever doing too much pot and overdosing. I mean, that may be true. It may not be true. How about the people who use pot? And it's interesting that you call it cannabis as opposed to pot or marijuana. It seems to me you want to kind of mask what you're doing a little bit. But also, there are people who start with marijuana and wind up on cocaine and heroin. It's been shown to be a great gateway drug. Dr. Sanjay Gupta, who had this epiphany and has not shut up about it for the past 2 or 3 weeks straight, every time he opens his mouth, all of a sudden he's apologizing after 30 years of going the other way and telling us, hey, no one ever got lung cancer from marijuana, and no one ever overdosed from marijuana. How do you know? And how do you know whether people who smoke marijuana don't go to tougher drugs and harder drugs and die of overdoses that way?
Well, you're wrong on a couple of things. First of all, cannabis is the true scientific name for the plant. Marijuana is a slang term. And as I said, cannabis was able to be purchased in our pharmacies until 1937. So there are a number of hundreds of years and even centuries that cannabis has been researched and used throughout medical history. That's a proven fact. And when you state that cannabis is not recognized as any kind of a mood stabilizer, whether it be for anxiety or depression, I'll also beg to differ with that. In fact, the American Veterans Association just approved for our veterans who come over from severe post-traumatic stress disorder to use cannabis in hospitals, and have agreed, in fact, the American Medical Association agrees, that cannabis does have medicinal value.
But what about the long-term effects? We all know people who we could tell right away have been pot smokers for years. There is long-term effect on the brain. The medical research shows that. Again, you're not addressing the fact that it's a gateway drug. And what message does it send to the youth of our country? If pot's okay, my mom does pot, it makes her better, makes her feel better, then what's wrong with a little pot at a party? Or what's wrong with the next drug, the next step up? I just think it's a very bad precedent to set. So address the gateway issue, address the brain effects on the long-term use issue.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, in some ways, there are partial truths in what you say. For example, if a child starts using cannabis under the age of 21, you are correct. There have been studies that have shown that there have been some issues with memory development as well as cognitive skills. So I would agree with you on that. And in fact, as I said before, I do not advocate cannabis use for young children, except in the cases of, for example, the young child Vivian Wilson, who's age 2 years old, and the young child named Charlotte in Denver. These are 2 young children that suffer from Dravet syndrome. And it's been proven in both cases that cannabis that is high in CBDs, which again is the non-psychoactive ingredient of the plant, have been shown repeatedly through their doctors and through their research in supervised studies that it has reduced their seizures from 83 seizures per day to only 3. And that's significant. Again, and a lot of people don't realize that there is cannabis that is completely non-psychoactive. Now, in addressing the gateway issue, I'm a firm believer that if someone has an addictive personality or a predisposition to addiction, chances are the first thing that they tried was a cigarette, and then beer, and then pot, and then cocaine, or whatever other drugs that there are. There are a number of studies that show that that cannabis is far less addictive than alcohol, tobacco, or pharmaceuticals. And again, I go back to the fact that a recent study showed that someone dies in this country every 19 minutes of a prescription drug overdose. Now, as a mother who had children in high school, I will tell you that my children, when I spoke to them about my cannabis usage and being a legal cannabis patient, they told me that the biggest problem in their schools, and this was a very exclusive private school here in Los Angeles, they told me, both of them, that the biggest problem in today's schools are pharmaceutical pill parties, where the children go in, raid their parents' pharmaceutical cabinets, pour all of the pills into a big bowl, swirl it around, take a handful of pills, and then they see what happens. And that can be deadly.
Well, that's insane. Absolutely. No, that is insane. Look, this is an interesting issue. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate the back and forth. And I'm glad that, it apparently cured your cancer. and that maybe it gives other people hope if there's a way for that to happen. And I thank you very much, Cheryl.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
It's my pleasure. Take care. That's Cheryl Schumann, president of the Beverly Hills Cannabis Club, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. You want to weigh in? We'll come back. We'll take some of your phone calls. What do you think? 855-777-9660 on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Hi, this is Dick Morris. Obamacare is taking full effect this year with over 15,000 pages of regulations. You need to know how this law affects you. That's why you should get your copy of Obamacare's Survival Guide. It's easy to read and the best guide to the new law. Even if you're currently insured or a senior on Medicare or a business owner, a medical professional, or really any citizen, you need the Obamacare Survival Guide. In it, you'll find about hidden taxes, fees, and fines, including a 40% tax on some health plans. I warned you about Obamacare. It's rationing, Medicare cuts, and will trigger doctor shortages. Now the Obamacare Survival Guide gives you the simple steps to protect your family. So get the Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere. It's already a #1 Amazon bestseller. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 today by going to Obamacare911.com. Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
This is the worst weather we've seen in quite some time, folks, and I don't see any end in sight. People have been calling in from across the state complaining their basements are flooding. One guy said he now has an indoor swimming pool in his basement. I told him he needs the waterproofing innovations from Basement Systems. If you want a dry basement or crawl space that will weather any kind of storm, you need the patented solutions from Basement Systems. You've seen them on home makeover shows throughout the country. With a lifetime warranty, every solution is custom designed for your basement. You can finally have that room you've always wanted with our total basement finishing system. Call now for a free estimate, and you'll never have to worry about storms like these again.
Call now for your free basement inspection at 800-516-9794, 800-516-9794. Learn how to waterproof your basement now. Call this number, 800-516-9794, 800-516-9794.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names.
Really?
They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough.
So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
If you're struggling to find reliable senior living information for your mom or dad, then call or go online to get the free help you need during this turbulent time. Call now, 800-908-1254, 800-908-1254.
We're in the midst of an obesity epidemic, and I'm not surprised. The statistics on obesity mirror an increasing trend of eating out or ordering in. In fact, some people dine out every night, but eating in restaurants is one of the biggest enemies of your heart. When you're in a restaurant, you don't really know what you're getting, and the calorie counts of many restaurant dishes are astronomical. In fact, some single dishes contain more calories than we should eat in an entire day. Eating in fast food restaurants is even worse. A diet of hamburgers, French fries, and shakes constitutes a fast lane to the emergency room. If you really want to help your heart, get in the habit of cooking simple meals at home. Here are 3 easy tips that will make your food taste better than even the best restaurant. Choose the best fruit in season. Your local farmer's market is a great place to start. It will probably still cost less than that pie you were thinking of buying. Get in the habit of using fresh herbs. You can use them in egg white omelets or dust them on the fish you grill or bake. And for a light dessert, choose a square or 2 of dark chocolate that you and your spouse can enjoy. There are lots of ways to make your heart healthy, but there are also lots of ways to damage it. That's why I wrote Fix It, Dr. Crandall's 90-day program. In it, I'll tell you how to kickstart your metabolism every day, how to pick the best diet for you, how to stop hunger from sabotaging your diet, the 7 superfoods for your heart. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thanks for watching this Heart Health Minute.
The Steve Malzberg Show is just a bit different from the other radio shows. We have TV cameras. Watch the show at Newsmax.com or listen on your favorite radio station. Here's Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, welcome back. And, of course, this is the Steve Malzberg Show, heard everywhere on the radio, on the web, on Newsmax TV, Roku, and on apps worldwide. And we're going to take a couple of phone calls here. Just had a very interesting interview with the self-proclaimed Martha Stewart of cannabis, and I thought it was very, very interesting. Let's get to the phones at 855-777-9660. And what? Where'd Michael go? He went bye-bye. He wanted to talk about that. Oh, I don't see it. Oh, okay. Hello. So Michael is there? Hello, Michael. How are you? Oh, he's not there. Okay, let's go to Jason in Illinois. Hey, Jason, you're on the Steve Malzberg Show. Hello.
Sir, yes, sir. Good to talk to you again. I spoke with you yesterday. We had a great conversation.
We did. Okay, what are we talking about, sir?
We talked about 9/11 yesterday, but while you were on the subject, I just got off work, so I only caught the last 15 minutes of marijuana.
Well, yeah.
There was a point you made about being a gateway drug.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the biggest reason marijuana is a gateway drug is just from my experience when kids try it, or when I tried it and saw how far less harmful it was and far less sick it made me than alcohol. It made me believe that, okay, well, maybe if marijuana is illegal, then let's see what cocaine is like if it's illegal, and maybe it's not so bad. So the point being is that it's probably not the number one gateway drug, but I think the reason it is a gateway drug is because it is illegal, and it's lumped in with LSD, psilocybin mushrooms.
So you're saying because it's criminalized for the most part, because it's against the law, it gives people incentive or curiosity to try something else that's also categorized as against the law. But if you legalized it, all of a sudden it would be viewed in a different light, and it wouldn't be. I mean, that's certainly an interesting theory, but I don't know. I don't know if it holds much water. But it is interesting. I will say that. But that doesn't mean I'm advocating legalizing it. Yeah, go ahead.
I just add to that too is the physical hardiness of it, the size of it. Once people start using marijuana, they realize they don't get as sick as they do with alcohol, so let's turn to marijuana. It becomes hard for several reasons, because of the size of it, the difficulty to hide it, the smell of it, the fact that it stays in your system so long. So
well, these are all
Well, let me just finish my
quickly.
Point, because I think the reason that people move to cocaine, heroin, maybe prescription opiates is because they don't smell, they don't stay in your system as long. So that's another point as a gateway drug.
All right. Well, Mike, Jason, I appreciate it. I thank you for the call. I mean, you're making all kinds of excuses. Jason, I got to move along. You got to bring the call down, somebody. Thank you very much. I mean, we could stay here all day, and you're giving me another reason why poor marijuana is lumped in with these evil drugs. But it's only because it smells bad, and it's only because it's so big and hard to hide, and it's only because it's illegal. And that's why it's really a gateway drug, because people have to move up to the next level, either because they want to try something else illegal, or because they want to try something else that's just as bad or worse, but they can hide better because it doesn't smell, and they could put it in their pocket or something. I mean, enough. Really, enough. Good theory. Like I said, interesting theory, but enough. Let's go to Norman in Alabama. Hello, Norman. You're on the Steve Malzberg Show, sir. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing fine, man. My comment is about the people at the movie theater.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
you were saying that why are they so, saying it's profile and all that? If that's standard procedure, if they have those cops there all the time, then when they tell the people that this is what happens all the time, they'll probably say, oh, okay, we didn't know that. Okay, but what I don't get is why are you so worked up about it? Why are you so bent out of shape about what their reaction was?
Well, it was only one person. Well, it was only one person. I've not seen anybody else say, joining her and saying this is outrageous. But think about it. You got cops there to protect a mostly black audience. And that's no good. Now that's racial profiling. Give me a break.
The whole thing is that if what they do all the time, fine and dandy. If that's not what they do all the time, then why?
Then what? Then what?
Yeah.
Then what? What is that? Then they're breaking the law?
No. What they're doing.
Well, racial profiling's against the law. So if they don't do it all the time, if they have more cops for a black audience to keep the peace, then what are they Are they breaking the law?
Okay, you just hit the nail on the head. You said if they have black audience and keeping the peace. So what the hell makes you think that there's...
I said if they have more cops on hand for a black audience to keep the peace. That's what cops do. They keep the peace, no matter what the audience. So my question to you was, if they have more, if it were true, if they did have more there that night, and if they was because it was, I don't know, a black audience. Let's say you're right is what I'm saying. Let me play devil's advocate. Is that against the law? Is it? We lost you. I'm sorry we lost him. Norman, call back another time. I'm really sorry we lost Norman. But it's just crazy. If it's against the law, then let the Justice Department get involved and tell movie theaters, you better not have more cops on certain nights. I mean, come on. What country are we? In the next hour, Richard Grinnell joins us. And a man who pulled his son out of a California school on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Attention hip implant patients. Are you in constant pain? Have you received a letter from your doctor about your implant? Have you had or need a revision surgery? Do you have high levels of metal, chromium, or cobalt in your blood? Over 90,000 hip implant devices have been recalled due to defects and failures resulting in revision or replacement surgery. If you have a recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-0920 to see if your implant is affected by the recalls. If you or a loved one has a defective or recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-0920. That's 800-460-0920. Protect your legal rights today. Call 800-460-0920. This is an advertisement, not valid in all states. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. iLawsuit.com is an advertising group that represents lawyers advertising their services and is a free matching service for consumers. It is not a law firm or lawyer referral service. Drug, alcohol, and gambling addiction can be devastating for you and your loved ones. Don't let the disease of addiction ruin everything you've worked so hard for. The Treatment Helpline has helped thousands of people just like you take control of their addictions and live healthier, cleaner, and happier lives. You are not alone. Now there's hope. The Treatment Helpline has helped people just like you overcome their addiction. If you or a loved one is suffering from a drug, alcohol, or gambling addiction, let us help you today. Call 1-800-813-9821. Our seasoned addiction treatment professionals can show you how to use your private health insurance to help cover the costs of this life-changing program. Call now and get a free confidential consultation. 1-800-813-9821. That's 1-800-813-9821. Help is only a phone call away. Call 1-800-813-9821. That's 1-800-813-9821.
Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Now update. I'm John Bachman. The crisis in Egypt threatens to take a new turn, and the U.S. is taking a hard look at the aid it provides to the country. A new poll from the Pew Research Center shows that 51% of Americans want to cut off aid to Egypt, and 50% say President Obama has not been tough enough on the Egyptian military in response to the violence there. But even if the U.S. does cut off support, Egypt may not lose a dime. Saudi Arabia said it will reimburse Egypt if Western countries do suspend their aid. At the Pentagon, Secretary of Defense Chuck Hagel was asked if cutting off aid to Egypt would help end the violence there.
Our ability to influence the outcome in Egypt is limited. It's up to the Egyptian people.
Meanwhile, the spiritual leader of Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood has been arrested. Today, Mohammed Badi was publicly displayed on Egyptian state TV. His arrest could trigger a backlash from the Brotherhood, but Egyptian security forces have already threatened to use live gunfire again if demonstrations get out of control again. And there will be no formal disciplinary action for the 4 State Department officials suspended and the one who was fired by former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. That's the decision made by current Secretary of State John Kerry. Today, those 4 employees were reinstated and told to come back to work. Also, the only official fired over the attack on Benghazi was told to come back to work as well. Kerry says further review of the terrorist attack shows that no State Department employees breached their duty. And embattled San Diego Mayor Bob Filner made his first public appearance Monday after undergoing sexual sensitivity training, but he spent most of the day behind closed doors in mediation with lawyers. There are also increasing calls for his resignation. 16 women have now come forward accusing him of inappropriate behavior. Some of them have been helping to collect signatures to force Filner into a recall election. But still, there are some women who rallied in support of Filner at City Hall, believe it or not, and even if his critics do collect enough signatures for a recall, it could be months before it's put to a vote. And newly released court documents show Boston bombing suspect Dzhokhar Tsarnaev suffered multiple gunshot wounds, including one to his face, before he was captured back in April. That last one entered through the inside of his mouth and exited through the left side of his face. This information comes from recently unsealed testimony given by a trauma surgeon who treated the 20-year-old after his arrest. It was not clear if the gunshot wound to the face was from police at the time of his arrest, or if it was self-inflicted, or if it happened during an earlier confrontation with police that resulted in the death of his brother, fellow bombing suspect Tamerlan Tsarnaev. And next, Vice President Joe Biden's son in the hospital, an update on his condition, plus a Newsmax exclusive with Mideast expert Robert Rabeel. Is there any hope of compromise in Egypt?
If your prostate is giving you problems and your doc says it's just part of getting older, be wary. Renowned physician and author Dr. David Brownstein thinks this is baloney. He's discovered a link between aging and prostate health and believes prostate concerns do not have to be an inevitable part of aging. That's why he created Prostate Revive.
Hi, I'm Dr. David Brownstein. I personally formulated Prostate Revive to include the most essential natural ingredients available to help promote a healthy prostate gland and optimal urinary function.
The producers of Dr. Brownstein's Prostate Revive are so thrilled with the positive feedback from satisfied customers that for a limited time, they are willing to send you your first month's supply free. Plus, call now and you'll also receive Dr. Brownstein's special report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Prostate. For details on getting your free bottle, call 1-800-596-REVIVE. That's 1-800-596-REVIVE. Take control with Prostate Revive. Call now while supplies last to claim your risk-free bottle at 1-800-596-REVIVE.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at Aftershock911.com. Aftershock911.com.
What is Lignet? Lignet is knowledge. Lignet is power. Lignet is global. Top-level officials, U.S. intelligence officers, national security advisors, foreign operatives, all reporting directly to you. What is Lignet? Lignet is confidential. Lignet is sensitive. Lignet is security. What is Lignet? They're the ones taking the world's pulse. If you're not in the know, you're not on Lignet.com. You've been briefed.
And welcome back. Beau Biden, Delaware's Attorney General and the son of Vice President Joe Biden, has been hospitalized. Biden, who suffered a mild stroke in 2010, is undergoing medical tests at a hospital in Texas. A spokesman says the younger Biden experienced weakness and disorientation last Wednesday while driving to Indiana for a family vacation. The vice president accompanied his son to the hospital in Houston. And as the crisis in Egypt worsens, is there any hope of compromise between the Muslim Brotherhood and the military to end the violence plaguing one of the U.S.'s most important allies in the region? During a Newsmax exclusive, Mideast expert and Professor Robert Rabiel says compromise is the only option.
Really, Egypt is too important. It's the most populous state. It's a strategic country for the United States.
And to see more of our exclusive interviews and content, stay with Newsmax.com. This has been your Newsmax Now update for August 20th. I'm John Bachman. Now here's the Steve Malzberg Show in New York.
Are you ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, welcome back. Hour number 2 of the big Steve Malzberg Show. I will tell you that the prosecution has rested in the Fort Hood shooting court-martial of Major Nadal Hassan. And we will speak a little bit later on to New York State Senator Lee Zeldin, former U.S. Army intelligence officer and federal prosecutor, to discuss what's going on there. They rested their case, and it appears that there's a possibility that we might get testimony in his own defense. He's representing himself. I don't know how that works. I don't know how a defendant who's representing himself takes the stand. I don't know who asks the questions. I don't want to go there. I'm not trying to make light of this serious court-martial and this trial. But there's been some bizarre twists and turns, and we're going to discuss that at length a little bit later on. Also in this hour, we're going to speak to Assemblyman Tim Donnelly from the great state of California, Republican. He pulled his son out of a school in California because of a new law that was passed and signed into law by Governor Jerry Brown regarding transgenders, transgender students, and bathrooms. So we'll talk to him about that. And Richard Grinnell, former Assistant Secretary of State to the United Nations and Fox News contributor, will join us to talk about the latest, not only on Benghazi, where those 4 State Department workers who were penalized for their role in Benghazi, the scapegoats, well, they're coming back to work. Yeah, hey, let bygones be bygones. What a 4 dead Americans among friends, right? They're coming back to work. Oh, they'll be transferred here and there, but they're coming back. We'll talk to him about that. We'll talk to him about the alleged cutoff of aid to Egypt by Obama and whether or not that's actually happened yet. They're going to have a cabinet meeting about it reportedly tomorrow to discuss it further. So there's a lot to get to, a lot to talk about on the Steve Malzberg Show, as always, and your phone calls are welcome. At 888-555, I'm sorry, 888-55, no, I see it's covered up. I covered it up so I could get it into my head, and I had it in the first hour. 888-777-855, that's it. 855-777-9660. We're going to have to uncover it. 855-777-9660. All right, if I can't get it, how do I expect you to get it? 855-777-9660. Have you heard this horrific story? Really, just you don't know. You don't know from one minute to the next. And what kind of children are we raising in many areas of this country? 3 teenagers. I mean, I'll call them teenagers. I don't want to insult animals, because when I call people animals, I get letters from animal lovers saying, well, animals would never do that. 3 teenage suspects accused of gunning down an Australian student, an Australian baseball player who was visiting here in Oklahoma. They gunned him down in cold blood. Why? Why do you think? They wanted his iPhone, his iPad. They wanted his drugs. They wanted his wallet. They wanted his money. What? No. They did it for the fun of it. They did it for the fun of it. That's what they say, according to police. And they are expected to face first-degree murder charges. And I know they're not adults. They had better face first degree. Now let's talk about Christopher Lane, 22, visiting the U.S. on a baseball scholarship at East Central University. He was jogging along a road in Duncan, Oklahoma. He visited his girlfriend. This was on Friday. We're finding out about it now. And he was shot in the back, allegedly by these teens. A woman tried CPR. Paramedics arrived, but Lane was pronounced dead an hour later. He went by the residence, according to the police department chief. The boys were. They picked him as a target. They got in a car and followed him and then decided to shoot him for the fun of it. They came up from behind like true cowards and shot him in the back with a small caliber weapon, then sped away. Police tracked down the teens using surveillance video from a business that is near the shooting scene, according to KOCO. And the three teenagers arrested are charged with first-degree murder, and if convicted, they face a maximum sentence of life in prison, notwithstanding their ages of 15, 16, and 17. They can be tried as adults, but they can't face the death penalty, since they are under the age of 18, according to the DA's office. Now, the teens have not been identified by police and they remain in custody, although I have heard from people in the newsroom that they have seen these teens. The boy who talked to us, according to the police chief, said, one of the boys said, "We were bored and didn't have anything to do, so we decided to kill somebody." Decided to kill somebody. One of the alleged shooter's Facebook pages, investigators found the message, "Bang, 2 drops in 2 hours." So maybe there's another body out there somewhere. Maybe there's another unexplained death or murder or homicide in that area that these thugs may have been responsible for. The father of the 15-year-old denied his son had a role in the death, but said the boy had his run-ins with the law before. The mother of the 16-year-old said her son and his 2 friends were part of a wannabe gang, but insisted he's not a killer. So I guess that falls to the 17-year-old. Folks, this is just an example of what goes on. It's just an example of the fragility of life, the evil that's out there, and how you don't know. Now, let me ask you a question, back to profiling. What if the victim here had a chance to, from a distance, see these possible attackers, these future attackers who he might have viewed as future attackers or bad news? And what if he crossed the street or went down a different block to get away from them? You know what you could accuse him of? You could accuse him of profiling. That's right, profiling. Imagine that. Imagine if he only had the opportunity to see them coming from in front instead of speeding up in a car from behind and shooting him in the back. Might he have had the chance to get away? Might he have had the chance to feel something was wrong? Might he have had the chance to profile the situation, discriminate in the situation, and walk the other way, run the other way, do something that would have saved his life? Oh, but that would have been racist if these guys were black and he was white, and that would have been terrible, and racial profiling's against the law, and that makes him a bigot, and he would be making an assumption that these kids were trouble. For the record. So our heart goes out to the family and the friends, and just a horrific story. Horrific story. use your head, and he had no chance here to use anything. But if you sense something is wrong, then walk the other way. Walk the other way. He didn't have that opportunity, unfortunately. When we come back, we're going to talk to Assemblyman Tim Donnelly of California, who took his kid out of school in California because of a law passed by the State House and signed into law by Governor Jerry Brown. And we'll tell you what the law is, what it does, what it says, and why he yanked his kid from school when the Steve Malzberg Show continues on Newsmax Television.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
150 million people suffer from headaches. All you want is for the pounding in your head to stop. Migralex stops the pounding. Migralex was developed by a neurologist and founder of the New York Headache Center.
I'm neurologist Dr. Alex Malzberg. After studying and researching the human brain for 25 years, I've developed Migralex, which eliminates pounding headaches. It works for my patients, and I'm so convinced it will work for you. I don't just guarantee it, I put my name on it.
Dr. Malzberg's Migralex gets rid of headaches fast without harsh caffeine, sodium, or preservatives.
Migralex works unbelievably fast, and it's gentle on my stomach.
Find out how to get your free bottle of Migralex. Call 800-532-2967. Plus, if you're one of the first 100 callers, you'll also receive the Migralex Quick Tips to Headache Relief absolutely free. That's 800-532-2967. Or go to migralexrelief.com. MIGRALEX relief.com. Or call 800-532-2967.
Newsmax Magazine is proud to present a special tribute to our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. It's a very special documentary and commemorative issue of Newsmax Magazine celebrating the centennial of President Reagan's birth. First, here's a video clip from the award-winning documentary, Rendezvous with Destiny.
We're in the midst of a springtime of hope for America.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Impulses of an evil empire.
Tear down this wall.
I believe that together we can keep this rendezvous with destiny.
In the next several minutes, you will learn things about President Ronald Reagan that you've never seen, heard, or read before. Welcome to today's special Newsmax event celebrating the life and legacy of President Reagan. During this historic presentation, we will commemorate President Reagan's storied life. We'll revisit his 2 terms in office and recollect his proudest achievements and greatest challenges. Ronald Reagan's life reads like a fairy tale of success stories. He was an accomplished athlete, an honored veteran, a famous actor, the governor of California, and of course, our nation's 40th president.
He called himself a citizen politician and only entered politics when he warned government was gaining too much power. By then he was age 54, with a successful career behind him. Twice elected President of the United States, Ronald Wilson Reagan was a contradiction to some. Once a Democrat, then a Republican. A champion of smaller government whose own government grew. A fiscal conservative who failed to balance the budget. His critics mistook his affability for weakness, but behind the smile and the charm existed an extraordinary leader with unique skills and bold and revolutionary ideas.
We only had time to share just a few of the top defining moments in Ronald Reagan's presidency, but you'll get to see them all in Rendezvous with Destiny. By the way, the president's close relationship with the Pope is especially fascinating. You'll also learn how dealing with an alcoholic father helped shape Reagan's ability to negotiate. And if you ever wondered what the leader of the free world likes to get for the holidays, well, you'll find that out as well. So let's review today in this free offer. We are sending you a copy of Ronald Reagan, Rendezvous with Destiny, and the collector's limited edition of our issue commemorating the 100th anniversary of President Reagan's birth.
Right now, when you subscribe to Newsmax Magazine, you can own both the DVD and receive the special Reagan 100th Birthday Commemorative Edition. That's $25 in bonus gifts when you subscribe. Go to newsmax.com/Reagan13 to subscribe today. Join the millions who read Newsmax Magazine every month.
Breaking news and breaking hearts. This is the Steve Malzberg Show.
All right, folks, we are back, and we have a very interesting topic for discussion here, as we are joined by California Assemblyman Tim Donnelly. Lives in Southern California, mountain community of Twin Peaks, and he has taken his son from a classroom over the new transgender law signed by Governor Brown recently. Hello, Assemblyman. How are you, sir?
Hi, Steve. I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm fine. Great to talk to you. Okay, explain for the folks what you did and why you did it.
Well, AB 1266 was passed and signed into law, and I don't know if your listeners are familiar with it, but essentially it is designed to supposedly help students who identify as transgender who are sort of not comfortable in their own skin. The problem is that percentage of people is less than 2%. Some people say it's much less than 1%. And there was a private accommodation that was arranged for them because they're not comfortable in the bathroom or the showers. And so this law would allow them to go into the bathrooms or the showers and also join the sports teams of people of the opposite sex. So you could have a daughter in school and have a teenage boy come in there and take a shower next to her naked. This teenage boy doesn't have to prove anything about that he's been suffering from this intense confusion disorder. That in fact he just tells administrators, yeah, I was feeling confused, and he can walk in there. And now you've violated the privacy rights of 98% of the students. And so this was the final straw for us. We had our kids in private school before. Last year we put them back in public school, and we've had a lot of concerns with a lot of the government indoctrination that they push down. And this seems much more about an agenda than it is anything about really helping reduce bullying among students who identify them as transgender. So I talked to my boys, and they were horrified at the idea of a girl being in the bathroom with them. That was it, or vice versa. They're uncomfortable enough at this age, being undressed in front of somebody of the same sex. It's just that age.
My God, it certainly is. I have a 13-year-old son, so I know exactly what you're talking about. And you're right. It's the rights and of 98. I'm sure it's 99% plus of all the students to make an accommodation of sorts for the minute minority. I mean, I just can't imagine that this is what it's come to. I just can't imagine. I mean, they say sometimes as California goes, so goes the rest of the country. I can't imagine that happening in most states, even some of the more liberal ones that might have taken on other liberal issues. I just can't imagine this happening. Now, talk about the fact that the reaction, the reason. To me, this is just another. It's creeping. It's kind of like little by little by little by little to do away with. I mean, wasn't California? Didn't you guys have a proposal somewhere to do away with the terms mom and dad and father and mother and just go almost unisex when it comes to parent A and parent B and get rid of any kind of sexual delineations whatsoever?
Oh, absolutely. There's been an onslaught of bills for the last 20 years reducing and attacking and assaulting the traditional family. This really had nothing to do with that for me. This was very strictly a massive overreach of government power. It's a government intrusion into where the government is forcibly violating the right of privacy. When we drop our kids off at school, we expect that they're going to learn and develop normal relationships, and they're going to be able to get a career and go on and do something in life. Now you've created this massive distraction where you take the natural uncomfortable nature of being a teenager and you multiply it by 10,000 times because you've opened up Pandora's box. Any kid that might be prone toward being a rapist, now he's got the perfect opportunity. Now we're putting them in there. We're dumping fuel on that fire. And by the way, just so that your listeners know that how the legislature really feels about women in bathrooms, in the legislature, in the Capitol building, in the state of California, you, Steve, and I cannot walk into a women's bathroom because they lock the door. And they have a code on there, and only the women get the code, and only a woman can get a code from another woman. So here, they have a double standard. They understand that sexual assaults have occurred in bathrooms when men have followed women in there. But now they're going to let grown teenage boys whose hormones are raging, there's no longer that barrier where a parent or a teacher or a coach can stop you at the girls' door or locker room. You now get to go in there, and you have every right to be there, and you're protected by state law.
Assemblyman Donnelly, one final question here. Does this not also apply to first graders, second graders? I mean, the very young?
This applies K through 12. And not only that, but it applies to sports teams. So if you feel like you're a girl today, you can play on the girls' volleyball team. I have no idea what and this is not a liberal issue, by the way. This is a nonpartisan issue all the way. But I know there's a lot of people that fought hard to get Title IX in. So I think we're going to open up our state to federal lawsuits, and we're going to have lawsuits from parents. There's an unending amount of bad that is going to come out of this, and it is going to be a massive distraction from the goal of learning.
Yeah, I can't see how it could be any other thing, to be honest with you. And there's no chance of turning this around, correct?
Well, I'll tell you what. There has already been a referendum filed. In California, a referendum repeals a bill, repeals a law. And this doesn't go into effect until January 1st of 2014. So it is quite possible that we could gather the 500,000 valid signatures required. There's a tremendous amount of outrage. Everybody in California is talking about this bill today.
All right. Assemblyman, I thank you, and I wish you luck, and good luck with your kids, sir.
Thanks for having me on, Steve.
My pleasure. Assemblyman Tim Donnelly from California, talking about this craziness. This craziness. The whole entire student body has to be made to feel uncomfortable for one or two people. How do you let kids in junior? How do you let from kindergarten on up through high school use whatever bathroom they feel like using? I just can't. Again, I'll ask the question: where are we going? Where is this leading? Where do you think we're headed? We're headed to exactly parent A, parent B. You're not a boy. You're not a girl. You're a person. Absolutely, that's where I think we're headed. When we come back, we're going to talk to Rich Grinnell about Egypt and Benghazi on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Bad credit card debt happens to good people. Credit card companies lure you in with low introductory rates or low minimum payments, and before you know it, you owe thousands of dollars in credit card debt. It has happened to millions of good people just like you. But here's the good news. Thanks to a powerful program now approved, anyone with $2,000 or more in credit card debt can cut their credit card payments up to half and even reduce or eliminate interest charges altogether. That's right. Our nationwide nonprofit program is helping U.S. residents cut their credit card payments. Call 800-613-3159 now. The call and information are free. We've helped over 500,000 people with their credit card debt, and now we can help you. Call 800-613-3159 to see how this powerful nonprofit program can work for you. Bad credit card debt happens to good people. Get free of credit card debt today. Call 800-613-3159. That's 800-613-3159. Again, 800-613-3159.
Attention, if you've been classified as a high-risk driver due to DUI, DWI, or tickets for aggressive driving and are required to get expensive and hard-to-find SR22 auto insurance, then you must listen to this message because we can help. We're the largest insurance company in the U.S. specializing in SR22 auto insurance and focused on serving the needs of customers classified by the state as high-risk drivers. We help people get back on their feet by providing easy-to-get, low-cost SR22 insurance that anyone can afford. If you need SR22 auto insurance, or if you have it now and are paying too much, you need to call us today for your free quote at 800-836-4606. Our specialists are standing by waiting for your call. We understand people make mistakes, and we're here to help by making SR22 insurance easy to get and affordable for everyone. The call and quote are free. Call us now at 800-836-4606. That's 800-836-4606. Again, 800-836-4606. 800-574-6806.
Tired of calls, levies, and liens from the IRS or hiring others who don't get the job done? Call Wall & Associates and you'll never talk to the IRS again. The IRS has a program to eliminate tax debt, and Wall & Associates professionals are trained to maximize its benefits for you. You always speak with a live person with real support and real knowledge. We've helped thousands of taxpayers like you settle their tax debt with the IRS for a fraction of what they owe. We solve tax problems. Call Wall & Associates now. 800-574-6029. We have the professionals who know how to solve tax problems. If you owe money to the IRS, your tax problems are not going away by themselves, and the passage of time will only make matters worse. Act now, before it's too late. Call Wall & Associates right now to speak to a professional tax relief agent. Call 800-574-6029. That's 800-574-6029. Again, 800-574-6029.
If you're a baby boomer or senior, please listen closely to this important message. Politicians in Washington are quietly plotting to decrease your Social Security payments drastically, and they want to do it soon. In fact, despite rising prices at the gas pump, grocery store, and doctor's office, retirees have received a mere 1.3% annual increase to their Social Security checks. Meanwhile, food stamp recipients have seen their payouts increase over 30% under the Obama administration. That's shocking. So when we stumbled upon a weird trick that could add up to $1,000 to your monthly Social Security checks, we knew we had to share it with you. To get started, simply go to SocialSecurityFree.com. Yes, it's true. You can take simple steps that could add up to $1,000 to your monthly Social Security payouts. Newsmax says SocialSecurityFree.com is a critical resource for anyone over 50. Go to SocialSecurityFree.com.
Where can you find the Steve Malzberg Show? Everywhere. From your smartphone to satellite radio to Newsmax Live TV to Roku, we have you covered. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks. We are joined right now on the Steve Malzberg Show by Richard Grinnell, former Assistant Secretary of State to the United Nations and Fox News contributor. Hey, Richard, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you, Steve?
Good. Good to talk to you again. I appreciate you coming on. We have so much to get to, and let's start with Egypt. And before we get to the piece you wrote at FoxNews.com yesterday about Kerry and El Baradei, I would like to ask you about this whole aid thing. Conflicting reports that Senator Leahy had leaked that there's been a cutoff of aid or a partial cutoff of aid to Egypt by Obama, who did it unilaterally. And there are now reports that tomorrow the cabinet will have a meeting and they will discuss the aid issue further. Do you think it's a good idea to cut off aid or infringe upon it in any way, shape, or form to the Egyptian military at this point?
Well, I don't. Let me give you a couple of facts, which this is a very tough situation. The simple fact is there was a coup. Of course, we all know that there's a coup. Anyone who says that there wasn't a coup is really hiding the truth. But also, it's important that although I'm a fan of having strings on our foreign aid and making sure that countries understand that the aid just is not automatic, in the situation of Egypt, I would not want to cut off the aid now simply because now is not the time. The time would have been when Morsi and the Islamists took over. That would have been the time to absolutely stop the aid and say, look, the United States taxpayer is not going to fund a government where the Islamists are in charge. That would have been a fantastic time for the President of the United States to show some leadership. But because he didn't do that, because we're now in a situation where there was a coup, and although the law says specifically that you should immediately stop foreign aid when a coup takes place, I think that what should have happened is that the president should have, the second the coup took place, he should have stopped the funding and immediately go to Congress to say we need to restore the funding. This is a government now that no longer includes the Islamists. Here is the time, and now is the time to do it. The problem that we have, Steve, is that President Obama has no credibility. We didn't try to stop it when the Islamists were in charge. He didn't call it a coup. It's like his head is in the sand.
Yeah, well, and of course, Richard, there was no way on the face of the earth that the president was going to cut off aid once the Muslim Brotherhood or Islamists, as you put it, won the elections and got and found themselves in charge, because this administration, to this moment, I believe, supports the Muslim Brotherhood.
Well, what we have is President Obama really comes from the law school professor left wing of the Democratic Party. And what you have is a whole bunch of people that are, living in classrooms in esoteric conversations where, on paper it sounds good to say, can't we all just hug it out and get along? The problem with that is that when you enter the Oval Office and you start getting top secret security briefings on who wants to bring down the United States, you then understand the reality of the situation. And I think this is why candidate Obama is so different than President Obama on so many issues, from Gitmo to drones to intelligence gathering. I think that what happened is when he got into office, he suddenly found that his left-wing law school professorial ideas were completely impractical. And so the idea that, we're going to have the Muslim Brotherhood trying to bring more freedoms to the people of Egypt is laughable. I mean, history shows us, and their own religion shows us, that they're not interested in more freedoms. They're interested in less freedoms. And so this whole idea that our State Department gets wrapped up with their head in the clouds by saying, well, there was an election, and so we have to abide by the election. Elections are tactics. They're tactics to get us to greater democracy and greater freedom. We're not having an election and then saying, well, one person, one vote, one time, okay, it's over. This is a process. And so, my attitude is always like, well, Hamas was elected. Well, it's not in the best interest of the United States to say we're going to allow Hamas to be recognized as a legitimate government.
No, but you never know. That might not be out of the reach of this president either. We're talking to Richard Grinnell, former Assistant Secretary of State to the UN, Fox News contributor here on the Steve Malzberg Show. So just one more. So what do you think is going to eventually come out of their cabinet meeting tomorrow? Do you think they will continue the aid, or they won't continue the aid?
I think that history will show us that there will be lots of hand-wringing, that there'll be lots of people sitting in a circle talking about the issues, and that the President of the United States will be unable to make a decision, just like he did as senator when he would walk into the Senate gallery and he would press present rather than yes or no.
All right, fair enough. Let's move on, if we can, to Benghazi. Several issues. First of all, this report that the 4 State Department workers who were put on leave as the scapegoats, if you will, following the attacks, have all been reassigned. They're all coming back. Their banishment is over.
Yeah, no problems. Nothing happened. Nothing to see. Move on. It's really remarkable that John Kerry has made this decision. I mean, first of all, let's remember that the report by Pickering, who from the beginning, we all knew that the Pickering report was going to be a bunch of mush. Tom Pickering loved the State Department. He was not going to finger any leadership at the State Department. So he made a report. We're not even sure who he talked to at a mid-level, but we do know that he didn't talk to Hillary Clinton and interview her. So we have a report about what went wrong in Benghazi where we didn't talk to the Secretary of State to figure out why she didn't read the cables requesting more security. Or if she didn't, look, I don't think the Secretary of State has to read every cable, so I buy the fact that she might have other people reading the cables. But we need to know who are those other people. Who is the most senior person that read the cable that that said we need more security and decided that we shouldn't have more security. That's the person that actually should be fired, because this is a terrible situation that could have been avoided by having additional security that someone thought we shouldn't have. So that really bad judgment needs to be removed from the State Department.
Yeah, well, absolutely. But how do you do that? And you know, here we are again with the president's revelation of a sealed indictment, which nobody is supposed to talk about a sealed indictment, and it's against the law, punishable by 6 months in prison. Of course, the lone exception to that, debatably and arguably, is the president of the United States. But he used that to say, I'm tough, and we do have somebody, and we're going to get him. But even if, you know, as you well know, even if they bring somebody to justice finally after a year, or announce their indictment or get the guy, there's still a million unanswered questions. What do you make of the revelations by Joe DeGenova, who represents one of the so-called whistleblowers? He made the remarks last week that Benghazi was all about, and as a result of it, there are now 400 surface-to-air missiles that are in the hands of real bad guys, as he put it. They were supposed to go to the Syrian rebels, from Libya to the Syrian rebels. Could that be what's going on here?
I don't think so. I actually think that, you know, there's no question that there were intelligence officers all over the Middle East and North Africa trying to get the bad guys. And so I think a lot more needs to be asked about exactly what the agency was doing. And our oversight committee members, congressional oversight members, need to be able to find out this information. I am somebody who thinks that the public doesn't necessarily have to know the answers, but our representatives who do have top secret security clearances in Congress need to come to a conclusion as to whether or not something nefarious was happening. I want to rely on those legislators, because there is a world here where much of the top secret security information, national security classified information, needs to be protected. And, you know, this is where someone like Glenn Greenwald, who just cavalierly throws out all of this information, I think is very reckless. I don't want to prosecute reporters, but I do think that the leakers of classified information need to be punished severely.
One more quick one. Churches targeted, burned, 48, 50 churches in Egypt, Christian schools, orphanage involved, businesses. They have paint put on them first, and then they're targeted and burnt down or destroyed. People are being murdered because they're Christian, and I don't hear boo from this administration. Not boo.
Yeah, and here's the thing is that it's an outrage. The president should be calling this out, but he should do it in context. You know, the last thing that we need to be doing right now is somehow pretending or messaging or making the mistake that we only care about the Christians in Egypt. I'm all for making sure that the president is doing what we can to protect every single person in Egypt, and there's a lot of bad stuff going on right now. There are a lot of killings on both sides. And the Christians are included in that. And I think it's very important that we highlight every single outrage and try to put pressure on both sides in the conflict.
All right, Richard, always a pleasure to talk to you, sir. Thank you.
Anytime.
Bye-bye. Rich Grinnell, ladies and gentlemen, former Assistant Secretary of State to the United Nations and a Fox News contributor. A very interesting take on the various issues. And, you know, I think that the fact that these 4 workers are now coming back to the State Department, or, you know, they're being transferred, is just in your face. I think it's part of a pattern. I'd love to know what you think about all this, folks, and I'd love to know what you think. Do you agree with Richard? That, see, to me, and I respect his opinion greatly, but to me, the Christians are being killed because they're Christians. I mean, they're putting paint. It's reminiscent of the Nazis. They're putting paint on these Christian-owned businesses and schools and an orphanage, and then attacking them. They're marking them in advance. They paraded nuns around the streets as prisoners. Now, yes, a lot of people are being killed. A lot of different people are being killed, and the army are killing many Muslims. But they're killing many Muslims who are taking a political stand, who are out there protesting in defiance of the army, whether you agree with that or not. They're out there. They're out there killing people who are openly supporting Morsi. They're out there killing people who are openly members of the Muslim Brotherhood. So I'm not saying they're provoking their own deaths, but they're certainly saying, here, army, here I am. You don't like it? Shoot me. I mean, they're disobeying the army. Again, whether it's right or wrong for the army to lay down these laws, the Christians are just being Christians. And they're being attacked by these Muslim groups and the Brotherhood, and a group that put an al-Qaeda flag up on the monastery where the nuns were taken from. I see a difference there. So what do you think? Is there a difference, or is it the same? Are the Christians just other victims lumped in with the rest of the people who are dying? Or is there something different about that? I'd love to know what you think about that here on the Steve Malzberg Show. So give me a call, 855-777-9660, 855-777-9660. Steve Malzberg on Newsmax TV.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Meet Jim. Like many of us, Jim enjoys a busy life. Between work, family, and friends, his days zip along. And Jim has the energy to tackle almost anything. But lately, Jim's get up and go has literally taken on a new meaning. Jim's always put focus on a full night's sleep, but it seems like these days, he's up and down to go to the bathroom so many times he can barely wake up in the morning. His prostate concerns have him sad, tired, and worried. Activities that were once enjoyable now seem like a chore for Jim. His golf game is at the mercy of his bathroom schedule. Family outings are planned around it too. Jim even has difficulty going to the bathroom. He's tried so many prostate remedies he can't keep them straight, and nothing ever seems to help. Then Jim found out about Prostate Revive, the all-natural dietary supplement specifically formulated for men, targeted towards improving and sustaining normal prostate function. Prostate Revive includes 15 super ingredients never combined before, including saw palmetto extract, beta-cytosterol, pomegranate fruit extract, selenium, and other high-quality nutrients. These targeted and all-natural ingredients promote healthy urinary flow and optimal prostate health. And the best part is, Prostate Revive was developed by a renowned medical doctor. Dr. David Brownstein personally formulated Prostate Revive with one goal in mind, to promote a healthy prostate gland. Thanks to Prostate Revive, Jim's got his life back. He gets a full night's sleep every night, and his friends and his wife can't believe he's the same guy. He has his old energy back, and no one has to wait for him. He doesn't even think about his prostate concerns anymore. Visit MedicSelect.com to take back your nights and improve your quality of life with Prostate Revive.
My patients still don't know what Obamacare means for them. And how could they? There are already 13,000 pages of regulations, and the bureaucrats are just getting started. Obamacare will change your health care, and you need to understand how. There are hidden taxes and fines, big cuts in Medicare, even new regulations on what services doctors can offer you. Some businesses could get hit with a 40% additional tax on your health care plan. Please, get the Obamacare Survival Guide today. It's the best book explaining the new law. It's easy to read, everything you need to know to protect yourself, your family, your business. The Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere.
Special internet-only offer right now at Obamacare911.com.
Heart disease is the biggest killer disease in America, and this doesn't surprise me. We are addicted to starches, sugars, fatty meats, and salt. People who live in countries with little heart disease eat very differently. One way some people stay heart healthy is by following what is known as the caveman or Stonehenge diet, so named because of its similarity to the way our prehistoric ancestors ate. People who follow this type of diet live off local fruits and root vegetables and get their protein mostly from fish and wild game.
My patients still don't know what Obamacare means for them. And how could they? There are already 13,000 pages of regulations, and the bureaucrats are just getting started. Obamacare will change your health care, and you need to understand how. There are hidden taxes and fines, big cuts in Medicare, even new regulations on what services doctors can offer you. Some businesses could get hit with a 40% additional tax on your health care plan. Please, get the Obamacare Survival Guide today. It's the best book explaining the new law. It's easy to read, everything you need to know to protect yourself, your family, your business. The Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere.
Special internet-only offer right now at Obamacare911.com.
The Steve Malzberg Show is just a bit different from the other radio shows. We have TV cameras. Watch the show at Newsmax.com or listen on your favorite radio station. Here's Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. 855-777-9660, 855-777-9660 if you want to weigh in on what we've been talking about. And by the way, Darrell Issa says that he will hold more hearings on how these four people have now been reinstated after, being the fall guys, the scapegoats in the Benghazi affair. Let's get to the phones. Let's say hello to Daniel in Niagara, Wisconsin. Hello, Daniel.
Hi, Steve.
How are you?
I agree with the funding of the Egyptian military, and so does Israel, and so do the Saudis. Listen, people should understand that the Muslim Brotherhood has been a problem ever since they assassinated Anwar Sadat because he went to Israel and made friends with them and basically decided, they were going to get along, and that's all there is to it. And now we got our own State Department infiltrated with the Muslim Brotherhood, with Hillary's chief.
Yeah, Umar Abedin.
Yeah, and who knows what else is in there in this administration? So if we got to pick a side, and it's got to be with the with the Egyptian army. As simple as that, this administration under Obama, it just ruined all credibility we have at all in the Middle East. Nobody takes us serious, and nobody respects us anymore.
All right. Well, it's interesting that you mentioned. Taking sides, and I thank you for the call, Daniel. Thank you very much. It wasn't that long ago. It was just a couple of weeks ago when Barack Obama was talking about Egypt, and I want you to listen to cut 31. Here he was talking about this was after the. Not last week, but this was after al-Baradei was removed from power. And here's what the president had to say, cut 31.
America cannot determine the future of Egypt. That's a task for the Egyptian people. We don't take sides with any particular party or political figure.
Actually, this was last week. This was after I think last Wednesday, when the president interrupted his vacation. We don't take sides. We don't take sides? We don't take sides? Or we don't take sides against the Muslim Brotherhood? You see, I seem to recall the president over and over saying that Gaddafi's got to go. I seem to recall over and over the president saying Mubarak's got to go. I seem to remember the president over and over saying Assad's got to go. Was he not taking sides in those three instances? So when he says the United States doesn't take sides, maybe what he should say is the United States doesn't take sides against the Muslim Brotherhood. Now, I also want you to hear, I don't know if I actually did this one or not, McCain's statements. No, okay. Now here, the president was asked, this was just this was 9/13 of 2012. This was 2 days after Benghazi, before we knew fully what happened, 2 days after the attack on our embassy in Cairo, and about 2 months after Morsi took office in Egypt. And listen to this conversation. I'm sorry, this is going to be cut 28. Listen to what the president had to say in answer to this question. Let's hear it.
Do you consider the current Egyptian regime an ally of the United States?
I don't think that we would consider them an ally, but we don't consider them an enemy. They are a new government that is trying to find its way. They were democratically elected.
They're not an ally. They're not an enemy. I've never heard anything like that in my life. I don't even understand. I don't even know what he's trying to say. I really don't. Above my pay grade. So, a year ago, Morsi, well, they're not an ally, they're not an enemy. A year later, when Morsi's gone, we don't take sides. Go back a year prior to that about, with everything in Tahrir Square and the whole revolution. Not a year. It wasn't whenever it was. And Mubarak must go. And Libya, Gaddafi must go. And we haven't heard it in a while, but I'm sure he'll be saying it one of these days soon again. Assad must go. But we don't take sides, you see. We're above taking sides. It's just crazy. The whole thing's crazy. Anyway, just thought you'd be interested in that. Hey, Detroit, a city that is falling apart. Financially, they're bankrupt and the whole thing, and murders and shootings and crime. Well, guess what they're considering implementing to try to stop the rash of criminality? Can you say stop and frisk? That's right. The practice, of course, allows police officers to stop and search individuals that fit descriptions of suspects or people engaged in suspicious activity. The assistant police chief in Detroit said that the policy is not racial profiling, just officers doing good constitutional police work. And he said that the department is already a stop and frisk agency. Wow. You're going to incur the wrath of the Justice Department. You're going to incur the wrath of the ACLU. You're going to incur the wrath of just about everybody in the media. But Detroit needs something. They absolutely need something. A lot of cities around the country need something. But now, because of the New York court ruling, they're afraid. We'll see what happens with Detroit. And we are the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction to alcohol or drugs, then you must listen to this message, because there is hope. No matter what addiction you or your loved one is coping with, you are just one phone call away from real help. Recovery Hotline makes the healing process simple and affordable by matching people to fully certified and experienced inpatient facilities that are right for their personal situations. Call 800-668-1286 now. Don't wait another day. Money does not have to be an issue. Most insurance is accepted. Just call 800-668-1286 today. Recovery Hotline's mission is to help you or someone you love begin the healing process and get back a healthy and sober life. And we can even help with family interventions and travel arrangements. One phone call is all it takes to get back the life you or your loved one deserves. The call is free. The help is real. Call 800-668-1286. That's 800-668-1286. 800-668-1286. Again, 800-668-1286.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. You need to watch out, because thousands of new Obamacare rules are currently being implemented, and few know what the law says or does. Listen to what Senator Max Baucus, one of the authors of the Obamacare law, recently said.
I tell you, I just see a huge train wreck coming down, and I don't see any results yet. I just see a huge train wreck.
He's right. So protect yourself from this train wreck. Get the #1 bestseller, the Obamacare Survival Guide. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law. Join more than 500,000 Americans who have their copy. Get the Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere, or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Now update. I'm John Bachman. The crisis in Egypt threatens to take a new turn, and the U.S. is taking a hard look at the aid it provides to the country. A new poll from the Pew Research Center shows that 51% of Americans want to cut off aid to Egypt, and 50% say President Obama has not been tough enough on the Egyptian military in response to the violence there. But even if the U.S. does cut off support, Egypt may not lose a dime. Saudi Arabia said it will reimburse Egypt if Western countries do suspend their aid. At the Pentagon, Secretary of Defense Chuck Hagel was asked if cutting off aid to Egypt would help end the violence there.
Our ability to influence the outcome in Egypt is limited. It's up to the Egyptian people.
Meanwhile, the spiritual leader of Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood has been arrested. Today, Mohammed Badi was publicly displayed on Egyptian state TV. His arrest could trigger a backlash from the Brotherhood, but Egyptian security forces have already threatened to use live gunfire again if demonstrations get out of control again. And there will be no formal disciplinary action for the 4 State Department officials suspended and the one who was fired by former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. That's the decision made by current Secretary of State John Kerry. Today, those 4 employees were reinstated and told to come back to work. Also, the only official fired over the attack on Benghazi was told to come back to work as well. Kerry says further review of the terrorist attack shows that no State Department employees breached their duty. And embattled San Diego Mayor Bob Filner made his first public appearance Monday after undergoing sexual sensitivity training, but he spent most of the day behind closed doors in mediation with lawyers. There are also increasing calls for his resignation. 16 women have now come forward accusing him of inappropriate behavior. Some of them have been helping to collect signatures to force Filner into a recall election. But still, there are some women who rallied in support of Filner at City Hall, believe it or not, and even if his critics do collect enough signatures for a recall, it could be months before it's put to a vote. And newly released court documents show Boston bombing suspect Dzhokhar Tsarnaev suffered multiple gunshot wounds, including one to his face, before he was captured back in April. That last one entered through the inside of his mouth and exited through the left side of his face. This information comes from recently unsealed testimony given by a trauma surgeon who treated the 20-year-old after his arrest. It was not clear if the gunshot wound to the face was from police at the time of his arrest, or if it was self-inflicted, or if it happened during an earlier confrontation with police that resulted in the death of his brother, fellow bombing suspect Tamerlan Tsarnaev. And next, Vice President Joe Biden's son in the hospital, an update on his condition, plus a Newsmax exclusive with Mideast expert Robert Rabeel. Is there any hope of compromise in Egypt?
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at AftershockVideo.com. AftershockVideo.com.
Obamacare. More than $1 trillion in new costs. Hidden taxes, fees, big Medicare cuts, doctor shortages. How can we survive?
To know Obamacare is to survive Obamacare. The Obamacare Survival Guide tells you everything you need to know to protect yourself, your family, your business. The Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere. Special internet-only offer right now at Obamacare911.com.
Health insurance is on everybody's mind right now. You either don't have it or you have it and you think it's too expensive. And you probably feel like you don't have any options. We can help. We are InSphere Insurance Solutions. We offer health insurance plans from major carriers nationwide and likely have a plan that can save you money. Whether you're self-employed, on a COBRA plan that's about to expire, or you simply don't have health insurance where you work and you need it, InSphere Insurance Solutions can help you. Our agents will help you find coverage you can afford. InSphere Insurance Solutions is an authorized agency in all 50 states, including the District of Columbia. Plans may not be available in all states. 800-980-9325. 800-980-9325. 800-980-9325. 800-980-9325.
And welcome back. Beau Biden, Delaware's Attorney General and the son of Vice President Joe Biden, has been hospitalized. Biden, who suffered a mild stroke in 2010, is undergoing medical tests at a hospital in Texas. A spokesman says the younger Biden experienced weakness and disorientation last Wednesday while driving to Indiana for a family vacation. The vice president accompanied his son to the hospital in Houston. And as the crisis in Egypt worsens, is there any hope of compromise between the Muslim Brotherhood and the military to end the violence plaguing one of the U.S.'s most important allies in the region? During a Newsmax exclusive, Mideast expert and Professor Robert Rabil says compromise is the only option.
Really, Egypt is too important. It's the most populous state. It's a strategic country for the United States.
And to see more of our exclusive interviews and content, stay with Newsmax.com. This has been your Newsmax Now update for August 20th. I'm John Bachman. Now here's the Steve Malzberg Show in New York.
Are you ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, hour number 3 of the big Steve Malzberg Show. You're going to love this. I promise you're going to love this. And coming up in this hour, we're going to have we're going to talk about the trial with Nidal Hassan. The prosecution is rested in the Fort Hood shooting trial. We're going to talk to Lee Zeldin, former JAG, and also Diamond Dallas Page. Diamond Dallas Page, yes, indeed. Now, as I said earlier, if you know who that is, you're excited. If you don't know who it is, you got to stick around to find out who it is. So, what a tease. What a radio TV tease that was. Okay, I want to get to as much of this as possible. Seems like MSNBC has a habit now that they've developed. NBC, MSNBC, they're all the same company. But two or three of the three of these are specifically MS, I believe. They edit tape selectively to misrepresent what people are saying. Now, the latest offense, if you will, occurred just the other day. Mayor Michael Bloomberg of New York talking about stop and frisk, which was ruled unconstitutional by a federal judge about a week prior. Bloomberg holds a press conference to announce that they're going to appeal it. Joy-Ann Reid on MSNBC. I don't know who she is except that she's on MSNBC, and she plays Bloomberg talking about stop and frisk, saying, if I had a son, and misrepresents what he was saying. I want you to listen to cut number 16.
I want to play something for you that Mayor Bloomberg said in his news conference today. And he was talking about stop and frisk in a way that's interesting because it recalls what President Obama said would happen had he had a son. Can you just listen to this and I'll get your response?
I think if I had a son and that son was stopped, I would have some real questions about it.
So Mayor Bloomberg is essentially saying that if he had a son and he was stopped, he would feel differently about stop and frisk. How do you respond to that, given how vigorously he and other proponents of this kind of policing have defended the practice? They're essentially admitting that if this were happening to their children, if they were happening to their sons, they wouldn't like it. Why can't they take that next step and then understand why these communities that are experiencing don't want it?
Why can't you play Bloomberg's full statement and then you'll understand that you have no point to make? They selectively edited, they chopped Bloomberg off right before. I want you to listen to the actual cut. He didn't even take a breath as he continued on. I'd like to say the next breath, he didn't even breathe. Listen to Bloomberg go on from beyond where he said, my son. First, we'll take it from the top. But listen to what he really said. What he really said. Cut 17.
I think if I had a son and that son was stopped, I would have some real questions about it. Having said that, I think if I thought long and hard about it, I actually thought that Bill Thompson said it right.
Bill Thompson said he didn't like stop and frisk, but he had a son. He wanted to make sure the kid didn't get killed. And the only way you should do that is to get guns off the streets.
Ta-da! Bill Thompson, by the way, is running for mayor as well on the Democratic side in New York City, former comptroller of New York City. Was I right? Bloomberg didn't even take a breath? He said, if I had a son, I might feel differently about it. Having said that, and then he goes on to explain, but if I had a son, I wouldn't want him to get killed, and the only way to make sure he doesn't get killed is to take the guns off the street, which takes us back to why he supports stop and frisk. Why did they cut it right there? Now, if this was the one-time issue with MSNBC or NBC, I'd say, everybody makes mistakes. But I don't think so, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think so. Let's skip ahead here to cut number 19. I hope you remember this. During the election campaign of 2012, Mitt Romney stops in Pennsylvania, and he talks about a Wawa. Now, I had never heard of a Wawa. Wawa? What do I know? Grew up in Brooklyn, live in New Jersey. What do I know about a Wawa? I don't know. I never saw a Wawa. But he asks the people, here's Andrea Mitchell, misrepresenting, editing, leaving out like 2.5 minutes of tape and splicing two parts together to make Mitt Romney look like a jackass. Do you remember this one? This is cut number 19.
I get the feeling, take a look at this, that Mitt Romney has not been in too many Wawas.
Well, I went to a place today called Wawas. You ever been to Wawas? Anybody been there? Some people don't like, I'm sorry, I know it's a very big state divided, but we went to Wawas. I was at Wawas. I went to order a sandwich. You press the little touch-tone keypad, all right? You just touch that, and the sandwich comes in, you touch this, touch this, touch this, go pay the cashier, there's your sandwich. It's amazing.
It's amazing.
It's amazing, and she had this look on her face. She had a guest sitting there next to her as if, what is he? How out of touch could he be? So they edited it to say, hey, you ever go to a Wawa? And then they went to the end of the tape. Hey, I went to a Wawa. I pushed a button. You push a little button, and then you go and you get a sandwich. It's amazing. I'm stupid Mitt Romney. Let's put this in context. He was talking about Wawa as an innovator, Wawa as an example of private enterprise. And he brought up an example to counter that, the government, the bureaucracy, the red tape, the lack of competition, the lack of innovation. And he brought up an ophthalmologist who he knows, who wrote him a letter, who said, this ophthalmologist wanted to change his street address. And he brought up the ophthalmologist and then went on to talk about Wawa and free enterprise as compared to government. Listen to cut number this would be, cut number 20.
We went to Wawa's, and it was instructive to me because I saw the difference between the private sector and the governmental sector. Look, people who work in government are good people, and I respect what they do, but you see, the challenge with government is it doesn't have competition. Right. The federal government, that is. States compete all the time. I learned that. I learned how states compete. When I was governor, Arnold Schwarzenegger, fellow Republican, came to my state. He put a billboard up in my state. He was trying to poach jobs from my state to go to California. Had a picture of him, in a T-shirt flexing his muscles. Said, come to California. What am I to do? I put billboards up in his state. It had me in a T-shirt flexing my muscles. It said, smaller muscles but much lower taxes, come to Massachusetts,
All right. Then he went on to tell the story about the ophthalmologist, cut 21.
The form he gets to change addresses is 33 pages long. 33 pages long. He calls someone to ask how to fill it out. He calls someone in government. They tell him what to do. He sends it in. They send it back. Wasn't done right. Got to do it again. Another 33 pages. He calls another person. They tell him what to do. Doesn't get it right the second time. Third time's a charm, though. This takes several months, during which time he's not getting the checks for the work he's doing for people who need his care. That's how government works. Then I was at Wawa's. I went in to order a sandwich. You press the little touch-tone keypad, all right? You just touch that, and that sandwich comes in. You touch this, touch this, touch this. Go pay the cashier. There's your sandwich. It's amazing. People in the private sector have learned how to compete. It's time to bring some competition to the federal government and to get it smaller and have to respond to the customers, which are you.
So you see how Mitt Romney was making a point and used brilliant imagery and brilliant examples and compared government to private enterprise. And all Andrea Mitchell had was, you ever been to a Wawa? Wow, you press a button and a sandwich comes out. Amazing. And based on that, they portrayed him as out of touch and dumb and stupid and an idiot when he's made a brilliant point. And then, of course, the most famous, and they're being sued for this, NBC, is when they edited the version of George Zimmerman's 311 call to the police on the night that he saw Trayvon Martin. Here's how NBC played it, cut 22.
This guy looks like he's up to no good. He looks black.
Did you see what he was wearing?
Yeah, a dark hoodie.
All right, this guy's up to no good. He looks black.
He's on drugs or something. It's raining and he's just walking around looking about.
Okay, and this guy, is he white, black, or Hispanic?
He looks black.
All right. He was asked, is he white, black, or Hispanic? And then he said he looks black. A lot different than saying this guy looks like he's up to no good. He looks black. NBC. How did they get away with it? Well, they didn't get away with this one. They're getting sued for this one. But you see, what's going on here? Where's fairness in the media? Where is it? Anything you see, anything you watch, anything you hear, take it with a grain of salt. We're coming back. We're going to talk about the Fort Hood trial. Prosecution is rested on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Guys, you've heard about Ageless Male, the natural supplement that helps boost testosterone levels within normal, healthy ranges. But now, the best testosterone product is even better. New and improved Ageless Male can help you feel more like you used to in your active life and in your romantic life. Because our upgraded formula has been clinically shown to increase your drive, desire, and performance. That's right, guys. Ageless Male has been clinically shown to boost performance. Cancel your plans this weekend. You're staying in. If you're ready to recapture the drive from your youth, now is the time to try Ageless Male because it's available risk-free. But you must call now. Just call 1-800-460-9790. Be the guy you used to be. Just call 1-800-460-9790. 1-800-460-9790. 1-800-460-9790.
You've heard the allegations on the news, and during the big game, pro football players have been using deer antler velvet to get a competitive edge. Banned at the London Games for its performance-enhancing qualities. Forbidden in major sports leagues for being an unfair advantage to athletes. Deer antler velvet is now in stock and available to try for free for a limited time only. Athletes have been using it for years for increased strength, increased endurance, muscle mass stress reduction, and yes, greatly enhanced libido. Everyone's talking about this miracle substance so powerful, it's being banned by professional sports organizations. But for a limited time, it's being made available to the general public. Best of all, you can try it for free by calling 800-678-5153. That's right, get Superior Velvet for free. If you're looking to boost your performance on the field and between the sheets, get the most powerful, proven product used by athletes for years now for free. Claim your free bottle today by calling 800-678-5153. That's 800-678-5153. Again, 800-678-5153.
Attention hip implant patients. Are you in constant pain? Have you received a letter from your doctor about your implant? Have you had or need a revision surgery? Do you have high levels of metal, chromium, or cobalt in your blood? Over 90,000 hip implant devices have been recalled due to defects and failures resulting in revision or replacement surgery. If you have a recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-1530 to see if your implant is affected by the recalls. If you or a loved one has a defective or recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-1530. That's 800-460-1530. Protect your legal rights today. Call 800-460-1530. This is an advertisement, not valid in all states. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. iLawsuit.com is an advertising group that represents lawyers advertising their services and is a free matching service for consumers. It is not a law firm or lawyer referral service. Are payday loans ruining your life? If you have 2 or more payday loan cash advances, listen closely. You may be eligible for a program that payday loan companies don't want you to know about.
This program will get payday loan companies out of your bank account and put an end to the payday loan nightmare.
Call for free information and find out if Payday Loan Support Center is right for you. Payday loan companies usually trap you into paying rates as high as 700%. We understand payday lenders' tactics. Don't let them take advantage of you anymore. All you need is 2 or more payday loans to qualify. We can help even if you're behind in collections or have bad credit.
Internet payday loans qualify for this program as well. So call 800-250-5084. That's 800-250-5084. The call is free and the consultation is free. Don't miss out. Call for your free information on payday loan relief. 800-250-5084. That's 800-250-5084. Again, 800-250-5084.
Sure, Steve might be a bit of a hypochondriac, but he never gets sick of breaking news. This is the Steve Malzberg Show. Call Steve at 1-855-777-9660. That's 1-855-777-9660. Here's Steve.
All right, folks, we welcome you back to the Steve Malzberg Show, and we are joined right now by New York State Senator Lee Zeldin, our friend, Senator Zeldin, former U.S. Army intelligence officer and federal prosecutor. Hey, Senator, how are you, sir?
I'm doing real great.
Good to talk to you again. Always good to talk to you. Okay, so the prosecution has rested today in the Fort Hood shooting trial, but I want to take us back before we talk about that to yesterday. And yesterday, some shocking decisions by the judge, at least shocking to me. You may have expected it. Where they would not allow, the prosecutors had asked the military judge to approve evidence and several witnesses to explain the motive of Major Hassan. They wanted to refer to a former Muslim soldier sentenced to death for attacking fellow soldiers in Kuwait back in 2003. They wanted to present emails that went both ways between Anwar al-Awlaki and Major Nidal Hassan, and the judge said no.
Well, first off, it's important for everyone to remember that one of the main goals of this judge is not only to secure a conviction, but to make sure that that automatic appeal that will take place if the death sentence is issued, that we don't want this case getting overturned. So the judge is going to be very cognizant of protecting the record, what evidence is admitted, to making sure that nothing in there is going to give grounds for this case to be overturned. So the judge looks through the various kinds of evidence that the prosecutors wanted to admit, some of which the judge ruled was too old and irrelevant. You referenced the emails. The emails were going to have redactions in them, which the judge says would have made the emails irrelevant. One of the terms used by the judge was her concern that the evidence could result in a confusion of issues, unfair prejudice, waste of time, and undue delay. And also, very importantly, was a theme that the prosecutors wanted to develop, that there was that this was some kind of a copycat offense, and to bring in case from the Hassan Akbar trial, which actually took place while I was stationed down in Fort Bragg.
Oh, in Fort Bragg. Okay, yeah.
And and what the judge was concerned was that this would open the door to a mini trial of sorts of Akbar, who's who was sentenced to death penalty. That's a case in and of itself that's working through the process. So,
right, and I should point out that he shot fellow soldiers in Kuwait. That's why I had Kuwait on the brain, but the trial didn't take place there, obviously.
That's right. Yeah, just before the start of the Iraq War, it was a gut-wrenching kickoff.
No, absolutely. Terrible situation down there back in 2003. I think it was 10 years ago. So, okay, so you're not surprised. You think, isn't evidence, who cares when the case took place? Why is it, quote-unquote, old?
Well, some of the evidence that the judge ruled was old also ruled that the evidence was irrelevant, citing his interest years ago in conscientious objector status, his past academic presentations. If the judge believes that the past academic presentations are irrelevant in determining whether or not Major Hassan Nadal committed the alleged offense to establish elements of the charge itself, then why let it in? Why let anything in that isn't going to make any difference in determining guilt or innocence?
All right, so let me ask you this. So just tell me if I'm right or wrong. The judge doesn't care really why he did it, because you have a defendant who already admitted he did it. You have witnesses who said he did it. So all the judge cares about is that proving or that there's enough evidence that he did it. Am I correct?
Well, yeah, the judge is certainly, especially being that it's a capital case, when we get into sentencing, there's going to be all different kinds of aggravation and mitigation evidence. Well, probably just primarily aggravation evidence if it's just the prosecutors. We'll see if the accused presents any evidence.
I want to get to that. Yeah, we only have a couple of minutes left. I'm glad you brought that up, Senator. Of course, the prosecution resting today. They called 89 witnesses in 2 weeks. Now, I'm hearing that Hassan could take the stand. Riddle me this, Batman. How does the man acting as his own defense attorney take the stand? Who would question him? Would he have to have the other participating defense attorneys question him? How would that work?
Yeah, well, he could speak on his own behalf. He can offer a statement to the court. He does have, there's other counsel. He stayed in touch with one of the counsel who he relieved. He does have that option of using that individual to question him.
So he doesn't have to. Well, he could be questioned, or he could sit on the stand and make a statement. So he doesn't have to be questioned.
Correct.
Okay.
There's obviously the judge wants to make sure that this doesn't turn into a circus there in the courtroom, and there's a lot of, again, I would be, all of us would be shocked if there wasn't a conviction here in this case with all the evidence that's been put out. So how that is handled, I would say that the judge has some flexibility because there's nothing that this man is going to be able to say on the stand that's going to get him off, and quite honestly, he'll probably just talk about how he did it. So I wouldn't be surprised if the judge had a little bit of flexibility, gave a little bit of flexibility in that situation.
Senator, I appreciate your time. Did you like that? Riddle me this, Batman? That was pretty good, right?
That was good.
All right.
Good.
Take care, Senator.
Right.
We'll speak to you soon. That's New York State Senator Lee Zeldin, former U.S. Army intelligence officer and federal prosecutor, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. All right, when we come back, by the way, I want to thank Corinne, who's been a wonderful, wonderful assistant and intern for the past, 4 months. Her last day is today. She's probably walking out the door, but we could always get her this tape. She did a great job. She has a great future in this business. So congratulations to her on completing a great time with us. We were privileged on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Hello, my name is Fred Fleitz, and I'm the managing editor of LigNet. You've probably seen our name preceding some of the stories you read on Newsmax or heard LigNet referenced on Fox News, C-SPAN, or CNN. Perhaps you've asked yourself, what is LigNet? LigNet is an acronym for the Langley Intelligence Group Network, a private Washington, D.C. based service that provides global intelligence, in-depth analysis, and detailed forecasting. LigNet's staff and advisors include former CIA officers, national security experts, presidential advisors, and top-level government officials from around the world. I myself held several national security posts for the U.S. government during my 25-year career with the Central Intelligence Agency, the Defense Intelligence Agency, the U.S. Department of State, and the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. Our lead advisor is General Michael Hayden, the former director of the CIA. He is joined by former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations John Bolton and former chairman of the National Intelligence Council and Special Assistant to President Ronald Reagan Fritz Ehrmann, former U.S. Ambassador to Venezuela Otto Reich, and former clandestine service officer Frederick Russman. Former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee Peter Hoekstra also joined our advisory board staff. Every day, our goal is to use our expertise, our resources, and our worldwide staff to take the pulse of the ever-changing political and economic landscape and the threats we face on a daily basis. Whether you are following global events for your portfolio or business, or just interested in the world around you, LigNet provides what you need to know to keep up with global events. There are many. Every day, LigNet members receive the Morning Brief, a daily email that provides summaries and links to our daily analysis to keep you up to date on LigNet's assessments. LigNet members receive unrestricted access to LigNet's secure database of global analysis. All of our special reports, previous analyses, and exclusive video interviews with intelligence insiders are available to members 24 hours a day. But you also get top-notch analysis that resembles the President's Daily Brief, the classified intelligence assessment delivered to the President of the United States every morning. LigNet also sends breaking news emails to our membership list. If there is a development of global proportions or a terror alert, our subscribers are always the first to know. I hope you now have a better understanding of what LigNet is, but more importantly, recognize how truly invaluable LigNet can be. As the old saying goes, knowledge is power.
Join LigNet for $1. Go to lignet.com.
Attention seniors and baby boomers. A new website has been created just for you, SocialSecurityFree.com. At SocialSecurityFree.com, we reveal a weird trick that could help you add $152,000 to your Social Security payouts. For example, did you know how you file for Social Security can dramatically change the amount of money you collect? One simple step could add up to $1,000 to your monthly payouts. And other loopholes we found reveal 33 ways for big savings on your health care. At SocialSecurityFree.com, you will also discover how you could save up to 50% on your groceries, along with 49 other ways to save as much as $50,000 starting today. Newsmax says SocialSecurityFree.com is a critical resource for anyone over the age of 50. So go to SocialSecurityFree.com now to find out how you could add extra money to your Social Security checks. That's SocialSecurityFree.com.
This is not your typical Screamfest talk show.
No.
This is the next generation of talk radio. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. And I've been teasing just about all show long the fact that we are going to have Diamond Dallas Page. Now, I've said, if you know who Diamond Dallas Page is, you're excited. I don't need to say any more. If you don't know who Diamond Dallas Page is, then you better keep it tuned here to the Steve Malzberg Show, and we will tell you. Diamond Dallas Page is just an iconic former wrestler, three-time WCW World Heavyweight Champion, and he is going to be profiled tonight on HBO's Real Sports. And I don't have HBO for various reasons. Nothing against Real Sports, although I'm not a big Brian Gumbel fan. In this case, Frank DeFord is doing the report on not only Diamond Dallas Page, but also two other former wrestlers who were broken. I mean, broken down mentally, broken down physically, and I'm talking about Jake the Snake Roberts and Scott Razor Raymond, or Ramon, I'm not sure. And they were broken down. They were the poster boys for drug addiction and pro wrestling, and they have turned their lives around. They've turned their lives around much in part to the efforts of Diamond Dallas Page. And what Page is doing is he's got this yoga program, DDP Yoga. And it's an amazing workout. Will was telling me there was a great video of it. He said, "Did you see this video?" And I said, "No." And he said, "This guy lost 110 pounds on DDP Yoga's program." So we're trying to gain access to him. We could do it on the phone. If we can't get Skype, that's fine. Whatever we could get. We're just having a little trouble hooking up with Diamond Dallas Page. Yoga's bad boy. Who knew yoga would have a bad boy? That's what I've got to say to him. So write that down. I got to say, who knew yoga could have a bad boy? but it's true. And we're also looking to give away a couple of Diamond Dallas Page's workout program right here on this show. So we'll give you the number to call, and we'll tell you how you could get a hold of all of that if and when we get a hold of Diamond Dallas Page. But until then, let me digress back to what we were talking about right before the break, and that is the trial of Major Nidal Hasan. And, you know, again, I just hope, and something I didn't have a chance to ask the senator about, I just hope in not allowing the evidence in, and the evidence, of course, being that the evidence being that this was a jihad, an act of jihad, and there's a lot of evidence to that effect. The similarities, of course, to the 2003 massacre in Kuwait right before the Gulf War, that the judge would not allow to be discussed. The email exchanges with Anwar al-Awlaki that the judge would not allow to be discussed. I just hope this is not an attempt, and the fix isn't in. I mean, sure, he's going to be found guilty. He admits he did it. But I hope there's no fix in an effort to keep evidence from gaining the record, if you will, which would enable or force the administration to finally change the classification of what happened from workplace violence to act of terror. And I don't know. I hope not. I don't have reason to believe it, but I still, you know, I don't know. I don't know enough about the process to say that that's beyond the realm of possibility. For the sake of the victims' families, the surviving wounded, Sergeant Manning, who we had on this show, and his cohorts and comrades, I should say, and who were wounded seriously and who have been without funding, without the proper recognition for what they went through, it should be rectified. And I just hope the judge not allowing this evidence in doesn't prohibit that. And in another case of media bias, as if MSNBC and those edited tapes weren't enough, how's this? This is a story written by a couple of AP writers. Paul Weber contributed to this. Noman Merchant, and Michael Graysick. Here's how this starts from a story from the other day. The prosecutors pursuing the death penalty against the Army psychiatrist accused in the Fort Hood rampage will soon be trying to answer a difficult but key question. Why did Major Nidal Hasan attack his fellow soldiers? That's a difficult question? Difficult? We know why he did it. He told us why he did it. Jihad. We were killing Muslim soldiers, so he had to kill our soldiers before we could kill them, more Muslim soldiers. He told us. This is a difficult question? So says the AP. I mean, it's a sin. It's a shame. It really is. A little inside radio talk. So there's no way to reach this guy except Skype, and we can't reach him, or he's not on the phone either. All right. So we're going to have to take a rain check on Dallas, Diamond Dallas Page. I'm sorry to say, but stuff like that happens from time to time. Now, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We won't have time to fit it, will we? No. Okay. No problem. No problem with that. We'll do that another time. We had a brilliant idea, and because we're unable to execute it, we're not going to be able to do it. All right, we'll come back. We got lots of great sound bites that you could hear that you haven't heard. If you'd like to weigh in, maybe you're a fan of Diamond Dallas Page. I don't particularly want to talk about Diamond Dallas Page, but whatever you want to talk about, how about we make it free reign? I take that back. I'm not talking about 9/11 being an inside job. And if you've called the show within the past day, especially if you've called today, don't call again. Been there, done that. We could move on. We could move ahead. And we could talk about a slew of issues, including the Democratic Party is urging the mayor of San Diego to step aside. The DNC is going to vote on a resolution. The Democratic National Committee is going to vote on a resolution asking the mayor of San Diego to step aside. Now, I think we're up to 16 women, is it now? 16 women that have come forward and said that the mayor has harassed me, the mayor has, sexually assaulted me, whatever. But look, I think this guy's got screws loose. I think this guy's got big problems. And by the way, he's a Democrat. And I say that because the media sometimes doesn't tell you that. And if there was a Republican, that's all they would say is Republican this, Republican that. So this Democratic mayor of San Diego underwent, a week? Was it a week? 2 weeks of some kind of therapy? And now he's back, and everybody wants him to step aside. I will say this. He's got problems. But Bill Clinton didn't step aside after he was convicted. I take that back. After he was impeached but not convicted. Bill Clinton didn't step aside after multi-accusations of sexual assault. That was one. Of taking, as Elaine in Seinfeld said, it out. Accusation of rape. Affairs. The Monica Lewinsky affair. Lying to all of us about the Monica Lewinsky affair. Didn't exist. It never happened. And then, of course, the semen-stained dress. Not to mention losing his law license, being disbarred. After a judge determined he perjured himself under oath. All that happened, and Bill Clinton didn't step aside. And I could list others. Who didn't step aside. And then there's the problem that Bill Richardson, as governor of New Mexico, had apparently, putting his hands on the lieutenant governor during many events when they sat next to each other. He didn't resign. He ran for president. He wasn't penalized in his career after that. And, well, I think I've made my point here. And I remember Bob Packwood. Remember Senator Bob Packwood, Republican, who was forced to resign from the Senate years and years ago? I would have to say the late Bob Packwood, if I'm not mistaken. Women came forward and said, he harassed me. He touched me in an elevator. He put his arm on his hand on my shoulder. In a room, he put his hand on my knee or my forearm or something. And then they started piling on. I'm not saying that some of it wasn't true, but he was treated like the plague, And then came Bill Clinton. And it's bowing down to our hero, Bill Clinton, because he could do no wrong. The women were nuts. You see, when it was Bill Clinton, the women were nuts. They were trash. They were trash. They were garbage. They were sluts. They were in it for money. Remember that. Always remember that. If it's a Democrat getting accused, the women are nuts, usually. If it's Republicans getting accused, the women. Can it all be true? And could it all be considered harassment? Is it all serious? Or is some of it, now every woman who ever had her hand shook or touched or, anyone he ever laid hands on innocently, are they now coming forward and saying, he did it to me too? Do they all envision some kind of lawsuit or something? I don't know. But it's obvious this man has a problem. So he should probably go get help. It's the right thing to do. And he is a Democrat, and they all are calling for him to resign. But I don't believe anybody, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't believe anybody accused him of the kind of sexual assault, certainly not rape, certainly not taking out his private part. And the president at the time, when he was accused of all those things, they held a rally on the steps of the Capitol after he was impeached to support him. What could I say? All right, we're coming back. And the number, if you want to weigh in, of course, because I did originally start all this rant by saying, give me a call. I'd love to talk about it all. 855-777-9660, 855-777-9660, right here on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number, 1-855-625-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. So cancel the cable and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-855-625-MY-TV. Right now to sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99, and there's no equipment to buy. You get free HD TV upgrade, a free DVR upgrade, and free professional installation. You control what you watch when you watch it. Record your favorite shows. Pause and rewind live TV. Even skip the commercials. Watch local channels too. At just $19.99, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-855-625-MY-TV. 1-855-625-MY-TV. Cancel the cable. Cut costs and get more. 1-855-625-MY-TV. 1-855-625-MY-TV.
Hey guys, do you know your testosterone level? You should. Each year, declining testosterone robs more of your energy, drive, motivation, and even your ability to perform in bed. Take control of your testosterone today. Write this number down because Progene, the leader in dual-action testosterone supplements, is now giving you a free supply if you call today at 800-592-4834. If you'd like to feel closer to 20 than 40 and get back that energy, drive, and confidence, call now to try Progene risk-free. Don't believe us? We'll even prove it works. Ask about our at-home testosterone test kits and see for yourself what Progene can do for you. Be one of the next 100 callers. We'll triple your order and send you a full 1-month supply of Progene for free. A $70 value for only the cost of shipping and handling. Call 800-592-4834 for details. Know your level and kick your drive back into gear with Progene. Call 800-592-4834. That's 800-592-4834. Again, 800-592-4834.
Obama wants your money, and he's determined to get it. He wants your money to buy off unions, his Wall Street cronies, and to expand the Obama welfare nation. Well, Swiss America is determined to stop him from stealing your money. They want to send you an award-winning film, I Want Your Money, on DVD that exposes his plan. It'll help keep the government's hands off your money using gold, silver, and other hard asset strategies to protect your hard-earned money. Call today and request the DVD, I Want Your Money, normally $19.95, yours absolutely free. Let Swiss America show you how to use gold, silver, and other hard assets to protect your hard-earned money. Call now. 800-978-3907. 800-978-3907. Call Swiss America right now. Learn all about investing in gold. 800-978-3907. That's 800-978-3907. Call right now.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. Folks ask me, what would Ronald Reagan do if he were with us today? I believe the first thing he'd do is stop Obamacare. Already it's in effect with higher taxes, hidden fees, skyrocketing insurance rates, big Medicare cuts, and some insurance plans are hit with a 40% tax. Protect yourself by getting the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's already a #1 New York Times bestseller. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law, giving you the strategies, tips, and loopholes you need to know. If you're insured on Medicare, a business owner, a medical professional, just about anyone, you need this book. Get the #1 bestseller, the Obamacare Survival Guide, at bookstores everywhere. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare911.com. Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
Do you have a motorized wheelchair or scooter that needs repairs and you don't know where to turn? Then call the experts at Precision Repair Network. They are the specialists in repairing all makes and models of motorized wheelchairs and scooters. You can call 24/7 and they will come to you anywhere in the United States. They'll give you a loaner to use until they return yours in perfect condition. And your repairs may be covered by your Medicare or your private insurance, so there is little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. If your wheelchair or scooter needs repairs, call this special hotline now and learn how you can get door-to-door service on your repairs at little or no cost to you. Precision Repair Network. They'll get you moving again. Operators are ready to take your call right now. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. That's 800-978-4813.
Microphones hot. Satellite link established. Studio lights illuminated. Cameras rolling. Audio and video encoders firing ones and zeros. Internet stream is streaming. The most technology advanced radio show is on the air. Here's the captain of this enterprise, Steve Malzberg.
Yes, indeed. I am the captain. Welcome back to the ship, Steve Malzberg Show. It's the ship. It's called the Steve Malzberg Show. Or the Steve Malzberg Show ship. Say that 3 times fast. All right, we welcome you back. Al Jazeera news channel has launched here in the United States. Now, I don't even know where to find it. I have my cable system, which will go unmentioned, and it might be on there, it might not be on there. I really don't have any desire to see it, to be perfectly honest with you. But interesting that it's here, and we already have a report. And this is from freebeacon.com, says the following. Al Jazeera, the news channel, has been caught airing what appears to be the fake death of a Muslim Brotherhood-backed protester in Egypt, according to reports. As violence between Muslim Brotherhood protesters and Egyptian security forces rage in the Middle East country, Al Jazeera has run a flurry of coverage that critics say is sympathetic to the Brotherhood. A supposedly dead protester was filmed and broadcast earlier this week on Al Jazeera. As a distraught woman yells in Arabic, the man in question can be seen clutching what is described as a gunshot wound. However, when the man's hand is moved, it becomes apparent that he has not been injured despite a pool of blood. The fake death was first flagged by FSA Crimes, an advocacy website that tracks alleged war crimes committed by rebel fighters battling Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Covered in blood, his hand rests on what would seem to be the source of that blood, a gunshot wound, FSA wrote of the apparent staged death. Doctors surrounding him as he lays there, eyes shut and face frozen. One of the doctors then decides to lift the man's shirt up. To the viewer's big surprise, there's no wound under the shirt. So that's what they're saying. The supposed dead man, wanting to obstruct the view of his non-wound for the camera, then effortlessly repositions his legs in the way of the camera, according to FSA Crimes. Al Jazeera quickly cuts to a different angle once the man moves. Now, this is reminiscent. This is they learned from the best, these terrorists, and this is how they do their propaganda and their PR. And we've seen this with the Palestinians over the course of so many years. Faking deaths. There was one instance during one of the last confrontations with Israel where they would put the children on the stretchers, put them in the ambulance, and then take them out, and then put them back, show them carrying them in again. Just crazy, crazy stuff that you could never imagine people actually doing. But they play to the camera, to the sympathetic cameras and camera people. And apparently, according to what this report would have you believe, sympathetic TV networks. And hey, remember the supposed Jenin massacre? When thousands and thousands and thousands of Palestinians were killed by Israel in cold blood and dumped into this mass grave outside of, by Yasser Arafat. No, it wasn't by Yasser Arafat. He was in Ramallah, I think. Whatever. And what did it turn out? There were probably more dead Israeli soldiers than there were dead Palestinians in Jenin. In fact, the Israeli army went door to door and suffered many losses from the booby traps. Instead of just carpet bombing the place, they went door to door, urban warfare, in alleyways, in buildings, in traps, and the media for days went with this lie about go Google the Jenin massacre, Jenin, the Jenin massacre, one of the biggest, phony stories ever to be perpetrated upon the media, and they went with it. They loved it, baby. Israel killed all these poor Palestinians. Turned out to be not true, of course. But so I'm just saying, this is not a surprise. This is absolutely no surprise, but it is something that that's there. I want you to hear MSNBC. This is from last week. I never got around to it. Blaming. Well, you listen to what they're blaming. They're talking about the Boston massacre. The Boston Marathon attack, and they blame it somehow on opposition to the president's health care law. This is, I think, Alex Wagner and a former economic advisor to President Biden. Listen to cut number 9. Cut number 9 we'll play first right here.
I think you could draw a line to what we're talking about and this vehement opposition to Obamacare. I've heard members of Congress talk about Obamacare as if it's the most evil thing to come down the pike since I don't know when. And there is a kind of obsession with this and a view of it as government taking over your lives that is completely contrary to what's actually going on.
Okay, so somehow they were talking about the bombing, and so he's heard rhetoric that portrays Obamacare as the worst thing, the most intrusive thing. It's going to take over your lives. And then comes cut number 10, where Alex Wagner kind of, I don't know, connects the dots somehow in her own mind. Here's cut number 10.
Mark, and I don't want to conflate sort of conservative resistance to government programs with radical sort of terrorism at all. But to Jared's point about the language and the rhetoric and the sort of emotional center to much of this argument, I mean, the sense that Obamacare is effectively ripping up the United States Constitution and it represents the end of America, this extremism would seem to be of a piece with this radicalized rhetoric that we see in other corners of American society.
Okay, so I don't want to draw any, comparisons or connect in any way, the over-the-top rhetoric by Republicans and conservatives on Obamacare and the violence, regarding the radical terrorism, etc. But, see, there's always, I don't want to do it, but, and then she goes ahead and basically does it. And it's just, I just felt it was worth a listen because it's just so loony. It is so very loony that I don't know what to tell you. Tomorrow on this show, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Rumsfeld will be here, and he will have a lot to say about a lot of things, especially what's going on in Egypt. So don't forget to tune in. Tell your friends. Of course, we are heard everywhere on radio, on the web, on Newsmax TV, Roku, and apps worldwide. So however you're listening to us or watching us, we appreciate it, and we hope you'll spread the word and tell your friends. This is, of course, the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV.